What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Abzy doing Radio Free Karak. We're going to talk all about Cyberpunk. Radio Free Karak. It's going to be an entire just a Cyberpunk podcast. That's it. Nothing else.
Oh shit, dude.
Just going to talk about Cyberpunk 2.0. Just that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
I'm switching. About the 120 million.
Yep.
Where did that money go?
I've decided at this point to switch the entire channel from reviews to nothing but Cyberpunk channel. Yeah, just talk. Even the background like Cyberpunk. Oh, dude. Yeah. And then get sued instantly. I actually worried a little bit about putting Disney on our thumbnail because I was like, does Disney come after thumbnails? Like, I don't know if they do. But if anybody would come after thumbnails, it would be Disney.
Did you watch the anime?
Edge Runners? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. Depressing, but it's very good.
Anime likes to have the adult learning moment where, like, shit goes bad. I remember as a kid, I was watching Transformers, and it was always like, Optimus will save us, and he fucking comes back from the dead. And then I watched Akira, and people were blowing up into tomato soup, and I was all,
what a good movie, though, dude.
Yeah, but when you come from a 1980s like Hanna-Barbera or whatever, you come from those, and you're all illusionaries, magical might, and then the kid's head just goes boom, and I was
existentialism.
Yeah, shit was crazy, man. I was not
that movie
prepared.
Is like the godfather of everything Cyberpunk.
It is.
Today.
It is. Yeah. And it was cool because Robotech became big in America, which was technically not Robotech. It was Macross that was rewritten and like dubbed over to make a cartoon that was edible to Americans.
Yeah.
And once Robotech became big, Transformers and the 80s cartoons became big. And we didn't jump to true, what do you call it, for a long time. We didn't jump to anything like what you're talking about, like Akira. That was, you had to go to the Japanese section of the VCR rental spot.
Oh shit.
Yeah. You would go there and you'd be like, okay, I want
stream
this.
It, bro.
Well, now, right? But back then there wasn't no screen.
Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, which one, dude?
Back then, dude, I was like, with my little. Oh, by the way, we had a TV that was so old that when you changed channels, the analog switch it would get bad. So you would sometimes have your friend hold it between like channel 4 and 5, so you could watch channel 4. Because if you let it go, it'd go thunk and it'd go to 5, which wasn't. That's how bad it was back in the day. Like you guys got it lucky back in my day. What are we talking about in chat? What about John Riccatello getting fired? We'll talk about that. Not getting fired, being told. What is it? We wish him luck, but he's still on the board, so he's certainly. I don't know what's going on with John Riccatello because.
Was he? Who was he? The Unity?
Yeah.
CEO. Do you think it was like a board decision because of what happened?
Probably, but okay. So here's the thing with Jim Ryan, and I'll just ask you. I mean, I'm sure you've been at companies where they're like, "We just want to wish him well," and you're like, "No, you don't."
Oh yeah.
That guy's
like
gone.
You're required, or not required. We advise you to retire or whatever.
Yeah.
That type of
so
stuff.
My question to you is, if these guys are staying on boards, both of them, Jim Ryan's staying till March, so he's certainly not fired. And then he's retiring, it sounds like he's a little like Sean Layden, where they're just like, we're gone. I don't know what it is with Sony CEOs, but Jack Tretton, I believe, also just was like, we're out. And he just left gaming,
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that
if he stays on the board? I mean, the board is a separate thing, right? Like if CEO has like the manager, like the more hands-on duties,
for sure. Yeah.
Where he answers to the board. Yeah. So I'm guessing he just withdrew from that from the CEO position, but still has decisions in the board, or is he just like not attending board meetings?
No, he's also, I think, I could be wrong on this part, but I think he's also a consultant of some kind. So it's like he's not gone. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. You know how it is when companies say we wish him well. You're usually like, yeah, that guy's.
Dude, imagine like having consulting services from someone who royally fucked up that hard and like the biggest fuck up in gaming history.
Yeah.
Damn.
Made a lot of crazy decisions there. Sup, everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for showing up for the podcast. If you get a chance, gang. We should probably change that to like gang because gang is sort of gang. I don't want to steal Theo Vaughn's thing. But I do love the idea of a gang within a gang. One thing that bothers me is somebody freaked out on one of the videos. They were like, I cannot believe a 38-year-old saying gang, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, go outside. right now, more important things to worry about than me saying gang gang. Trust me.
People are freaked out about way stupider shit, dude.
Yeah. It's like calm that ass. Let's see. He is an advisor till they replace him. Yeah, exactly, which is weird. I mean, a lot of times
He's
those
advising
people,
them. That's like a very, malleable. It's not like he's not really an advisor. Come on now. He's just.
You think maybe they said he's an advisor because they were worried of even more like stupid. I think it would have been better to just say we wish him well and he's gone. That's me. I just think that
he's out of here.
Yeah, because devs are going to look at that and go, well, if he's not gone and he's an advisor, what is that? Can he still advise on these bad decisions? You know what I mean? Like if I was a dev, I wouldn't. And Reg, I talked to Reg yesterday. He jumped in voice chat and he was like, dude, nobody, we're not sticking with Unity. The thing is they flew past the bridge, they burned it, they turned around, they nuked it, they turned around, and then they just hydrogen bombed it. And you're like, there's not a lot, there's not a lot to go back to.
And the issue is they came up afterwards with a way better deal, but the damage was done. Like, they went back to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but everything's already blown up.
Yeah, everything's already blown up. It's like at that point, somebody just gives up and the war's over. But in this war, somebody else snuck in, and that's Unreal. And well, not somebody else. There's multiple companies that are, trying their hand at engines. But anyway, so if you guys get a chance, tweet out that we're doing this. We're going live right now. I think he couldn't be removed, Rogerio says. Boy, I would be surprised if I'm not saying that's, I've never heard of anybody not being able to be removed.
I mean, if the vote is that he's removed, right?
Yeah.
Even if he still owns shares. Like, he can still own shares, but if he's removed, he's removed. Or
I had to be
I don't know, can they require him to sell his shares? Like, can they force him to?
No. You'd have to have some kind of legality or something in your contract. But I was in one really uncomfortable time with a company in an uncomfortable board position where you had to vote no confidence in the person who ran it. And here's the difference. Let's say there's an election, and you could lie and say you're both winners, but this person won more. But with a vote of no confidence, the words no confidence, that's rough, man. To see the person on the other end who was trying their best, by the way, they were bad, but they were trying their best, but they were bad. It was a bad situation. And you just go, we're voting no confidence, we're replacing you. And to see that person, because it's a person, regardless, we all like to pretend that CEOs are aliens. They probably have some alien-like properties, but there's still a person who, and some of these guys are like,
even Mark Zuckerberg
excited.
is a human. Kind of crazy.
Right there at the edge of human. I think they keep him as advisor to placate financial analysts. It's possible. I just think financial people would actually have been much happier if he got fired. But who knows, right? We'll move on from there. Long story short, he's gone. That dude's made bad decisions prior to Unity. I don't know if you guys have ever followed that guy. That guy was the guy who said that he wanted people to pay to reload weapons in games. That's the dude. I don't know if you knew that. That's the guy who said...
What do you mean pay to reload weapons?
So he had this big, broad... He's a little like Andrew Lincoln from Sony, where they got the Bond villain thing going on, and you hear these little stories, but one of the ones he was saying is, when a person is invested in a shooting game, and they're in the midst of a trench, and they're fighting, they are more apt and more invested to buy to reload, to buy a microtransaction to reload. Now, it wasn't a great comparison because that's not really what he meant. He just meant when you're in depth in a game, your desire to be more in depth in the game may override your fight. But it was a dude.
Yeah, I've bought in like season passes and shit before, like on a whim, just because I was like, oh shit, I'm so. You know what I did it in? I did it in the fucking Halo Infinite multiplayer. I played like two. I think I played like 2 games and I won. And I was like, I got the rush, adrenaline surge, where I was like, oh, fuck, I'm on fire. And I want to get, like, I was playing ranked, and I was like, yeah, we got a team going, you know what I mean? We're going to make it up the leaderboards and shit.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'm paying $20 for this. Okay, the game is free. I'm going to pay $20 for the extra. Yeah, it was a very bad idea, man. Their model was beyond stupid at the time.
And kudos to Halo Infinite for absolutely rocking it with the last couple updates.
Yeah, I heard it's turned around on both the single player and multiplayer.
Yeah, and I never want to say turned around again. I hope I never say it about a game ever again. I'm tired of turned around.
It's gonna happen. I hate to be, dude. Okay, all right. So this happens a lot. It even happened in our Discord a couple days ago. Okay, I it is true, but I just hate hearing about it all the time. Where it's like, oh, it's the sad state of AAA games. They will always release in a bad state and then get fixed later.
So like, not true.
It's the same thing as like EA hates single player games where people keep bringing it up and shit. And one game has the potential to just fucking just make people rewrite history and be like, oh shit, every game is doing that now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But yeah, I feel like we'll definitely. There's definitely going to be another game that's not going to meet expectations.
Which just
don't
sucks,
let it be
but
Stalker
it's so
2,
true.
Dude. Do not let it be.
Yeah, we talked about Stalker 2. We
2.
talked about all this in the Discord chat, and Stalker 2 did come up, and I was like, I brought up your name because I just knew you liked it. Let's see. Let's look. Robert, $10 super chat. Haven't caught one of these live. Always listen on the podcast on Spotify. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Super chats do help a huge amount, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Karak, do you have any information on what's happening with Silent Hill 2 remake from Bloober? I do not, but Bloober just announced they're doing some free DLC, right?
Yeah, for the horror
Layers
game.
of Fear?
Layers of Fear. Yeah, I wasn't like a big fan of that one.
Either was I, but it's free. Like
that's free,
right?
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's Halloween, right? Halloween month. So
yep. Tom Fuckery, who probably didn't think I'd read his username, $2 super chat. Remember, people who made the apathetic decision. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah, you got to remember, sometimes it's not the companies, it's a person. Sometimes it's the whole company. Smoking Blaster, $10 super chat. Mark Zuckerberg is secretly an iguana in a human suit.
I believe it. He's a lizard man.
He is. I don't like to talk, too much about people's looks, but his persona plus his deadpan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the way he talks, like the way he looks at you, right?
Yeah. Him and Elon Musk have the I have to translate into normal gorilla speech for the rest of you moments where you'll watch Joe or anybody ask, because I only mention Joe because Musk doesn't appear on a ton of like podcasts, but he appears on, and I love it where Musk forgets that he needs to explain stuff. So I was just watching a short yesterday where Joe's like, yeah, airplanes, blah, blah, blah. And Musk goes, I have a plan for an airplane. That was it.
Yeah.
He was done. To him, he had translated all the data to Joe. And Joe goes, you do? And he goes, yeah.
Yeah, just, yep. no,
and
no
he just
further
kept nothing. And you see Joe just going like, dude, this guy, it's so, and then like they continue to talk, but that's the same way with Zuckerberg, and if you look at Lex Friedman, Lex is talky, but he's a little like that too, where sometimes trying to describe it to us, they almost sound dumber because they're trying to dumb it down to a point to where you're like, imagine a rock, and you're like, I'm not that stupid, we don't need to go that far to basics. But what were you gonna say?
It's funny because I got less, like when you remember that metaverse kind of interview that they had, Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
I got a less feeling of uncanny valley watching that than watching real Mark Zuckerberg. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he looked more real in the metaverse. Like the AI was, or whatever the fuck they used, was able to map his face in a more humane
more
way
emotion on it
than his actual.
Absolutely agree.
His actual face.
And I joked about Lex's. It's the first podcast Lex had eye contact through the entire podcast because it was tracking his eyes. Turn up, Johnny says for $5 super chat. Only people in Discord will know what that means. Turn up. Man, we had a good turnout on the podcast or on the voice chat yesterday. It was like at one, I don't know, it was like it was more than 20 at one time, and we were talking about everything. Switch 2, and it was so cool to insulate myself from the negativity. Like you just go in there and it's all these people, and somebody posed, I can't even remember what it was, but like somebody posed a question, and it's just constructive. It was awesome. Like. Cool. It was like, we were talking about VR, and I was like, well, I have an issue with this, and then Reg has a Pico, and I have a Pico, Johnny has a Pico, and I'm like, or Reg brought up, he's like, that for a headset, that's actually a phenomenal headset. And then it turned into what could headsets do better, or what could handhelds. Switch came up, and it was just that positive, where if you put it on Twitter, right, first person's going to be like,
dude, I was literally going to say, post that same question on Twitter, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Let's see. Omar says, Omar, bring in the heat to Absy. He says, wow, I'm surprised Absy is back considering he likes the smell of fish so much. Do you remember me telling you I was going to ban you?
Yeah, what does that even mean, dude?
Because I told you I was going to ban you for liking the smell of fish because I hate it.
Oh, okay.
He remembers,
I thought he meant
man.
like, okay. Because I was going to be like, yo, I can get fish right now and keep smelling it.
No, he remembers. He remembers me bitching about it. We should probably do the podcast. Yeah, we should probably do the podcast. The best gaming podcast, which
the one we're in right now.
Yeah, probably best to start that.
True.
So
forgot.
Let's talk about games we've been. You've been busy though. It sounds like you've been doing work.
I've been busy, but you know what? I started playing again a little bit here and there because I wanted a game where I can just go in. Yeah, I did play some of that, but no, that's not the game. I just wanted something where in between stuff I can just go and play a game and then. So I got back into Darktide because it released a massive update that overhauled a bunch of shit.
God, I forgot what it was. Stuff. Okay, right.
Darktide, yeah. And it's good, man. It feels more of a game now. It's like a complete video game. And my main issue was within like a class, there's not much build diversity and shit. Like you're just kind of, you know what I mean? It's just you're playing that class, you just get weapons. And they made it into like a whole skill tree with like different variations of builds and different powers and abilities and stuff like that. So it's actually even more detailed than Vermintide at this point. And
so do you think they'll move forward with that and that will be their de facto for their next games, is this skill system that seems to be so popular?
I don't know, because Vermintide had a better skill system than Darktide at launch. Like Vermintide had like two, three subclasses per class, and then Darktide came. Darktide was just like very, very bare bones, where I felt like I was just playing a beta, just testing out the waters and stuff. But I just feel like they do need more of a cohesive. They need more maps or something, more of like a differentiation, because you go into every map and every game and you're like, it's kind of samey. You know what I mean? Like you can't really be like, oh, I know this map, because a lot of the different hallways and stuff look very similar to each other.
I think that Darktide needed another year, and I don't know if they looked at the environment and thought we could sneak in and nail this early, but it didn't work. If that is what they were thinking, I think that for the most part, even if one game recreates itself like Cyberpunk, all games can't prepare to. And I think that all games can't release early with nothing and do well like Fortnite or something like that, which switched entire modes. And remember, Fortnite had its original mode before the Battle Royale.
Yeah.
So
I enjoyed that mode, by the way. I was all up on there in alpha.
I think that's probably because I personally believe it was better than the other version. And at the time it worked. At the time, there was no issues with it. I mean, it's obvious that they made the right choice. Like, sometimes you don't like the choice, but then you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's...
Dude, thinking back now, it's very, very, very genius. Like, it's very smart what they did. They tapped into the Battle Royale market.
Yep.
But they introduced like a fourth element into it. They introduced a whole new dimension into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they innovated on the genre, dude. They introduced building. Imagine just building in a battle royale. And it sounds stupid now because Fortnite and all the kids love it and shit, but it's actually like a very skillful, crazy game. And it's crazy that it got that much. I bet you the art style as well attracted a lot of people, a lot of kids. That's why Nintendo does so well. Those family games or family looking games usually tend to sell more, right? And it's free.
Yeah, so. And one of the, I think we talk about all AAA games do this or all big games do this and that. Most of it's not true. But one thing that is true is whenever I hear somebody say, oh, the kids like it, I assume it's going to be massively popular. You just mentioned the three most popular things in Minecraft. Yeah. So it's like, obviously that works. And that's because those kids, Christmas time, they want to play. And I have no issues with Fortnite. I'm just not great at building and shooting at the same time. Like my brain doesn't. That's a lot for me.
I need Adderall. You need Adderall. You need that's what the kids are doing, man. They're just
modafinil or whatever, some limitless drug.
Or Vyvanse.
Right. No, you do. I mean, I saw people doing shit that I was like, I can do okay on a multiplayer game for a long time. But if it was multiplayer and building, it's just one step to where my brain's like, well, I mean, I'd build a wall, but it would look like shit. I don't even build well in single player games. So in multiplayer games, it's going to be worse. Like, just, throwing shit down. Have you been playing
building walls? No.
Well, I just between but like I would build a wall to block bullets. That would be like my brain.
Yes.
That's all my brain would think of. Right?
But dude, no, I was in like an internet cafe or whatever, and there was this kid next to me, like probably like 16, 17. And he was just like, he built shit, and then like very fast press G to edit, and then make it into like a slope or something, and then make it into like a whole new thing. And I'm like, damn, dude, like you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like, what am I getting old now? Like you're like what are you seeing? How are you seeing the world right now?
Right. So, and what are you seeing when you're doing it? Yeah, the synapses in their brain are just like as he's snorting Adderall, and caffeine, which is probably true too. I always joke about Adderall, and then I find out everybody's on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, man,
a lot of streamers.
Okay. I guess you would probably call me. I don't know if it's old fashioned, but I'm definitely anti-drug for the most part. That's
old fashioned.
It is what it is. I know that drugs are cooler now. People are like, hey man, let's microdose
they're more,
battery acid.
They sometimes kind of use it as like the war on drugs or something. Or there's like, I guess there's some nuance to it, but it's definitely more accepted now.
I was just gonna say that I couldn't be more up than I am.
What do you mean? What?
I could not be more up than I am right now.
Okay. What happens if you take coke?
I have no clue, but it would be. I don't know what it would be. What would it be? Like, I don't know. You know how when kids are young and they take Adderall to slow down, Ritalin to slow down, and that speeds up an adult? It might do that to me. I mean, it's funny because people would say I have hyperactivity, but I technically don't. It's just it's just my battery's always on, which I guess some people would say is hyperactivity, but yeah, it's just odd when I see it, and I see these games come up, and every time when we mention them, it is always the kids like it. Whenever I mention, this seems popular to the, blah, 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 it's like, well, YouTube. If a YouTuber is popular to the, a younger demographic, be prepped for them to explode. $10 super chat, best Quantum Break, beat Quantum Break, pretty great. They added a FOV to Starfield, fixed the civilians' faces. No.
Oh, really?
Did they?
Nice.
What? I did not expect that. The game looks 10 times more crisp graphics-wise on consoles. I keep coming back. I played a bunch of Starfield yesterday, a ton of Starfield, and I got the new mod, Call Your Ship. I pinged you on that. I don't know if you saw it. But the brand new mod, you can now call your ship to you, and I was like, yes, like that is all the other mods I don't care about. That was the mod where I'm like, and it actually looks cool where you call it and comes in. I was just like, that's fucking sweet.
Oh shit, really? They did a whole thing.
It's like, like no, it comes and lands just like a Merc ship would in that mod.
Cool.
So
cool.
What I've been playing is, strangely enough, I've liked these games. I think it was originally Freddie Prinze Jr. of all people who turned me on to like the big-headed baseball games, backyard football, backyard baseball. So a new game's coming out called Wild Cards Football, and it's like a mix. It's super arcadey, and I'm trying to. It's almost like what was the game, NBA Jam, but for football. So you can like dress up like birds or Tron.
What kind of football? Like American football.
American football.
Yeah.
And it's actually. I was surprised how enjoyable. Not surprised how enjoyable it was, but surprised how long it held me, because I thought, oh, it's going to be arcade, but it has like 50% of what NFL 2Ks has for like play calling. It's a little bit, it's reduced, but you can customize everything, your character's gloves, full suits, your playbook, that kind of stuff. And I just realized, I don't know what it is about those games, but it reminds me a little bit of the Trials game. You remember the motorbike Trials game?
Yeah.
There's something about the games that are more condensed, so it's not a sim racer. It's just 2D doing some flips on a motorbike. And the same thing with football. I would never play an NFL 2K 23.
Me too. Yeah, it's like ever since forever, I've never been a sports player guy. Like sports.
You've
like
started to go away from the sim kind of thing.
Yeah, I never enjoyed. Yeah, I never enjoyed like FIFA or I played some 2K a little bit, but I never enjoyed them as much as I enjoy. Like I love FIFA Street, NBA Street, NFL Street with like Exhibit and shit, NBA Jam back on like I think Super Nintendo. I always like those side ones where it's like you could do more, or like have like something like a thing to it, right? I always enjoyed those way more.
Did you ever do the Trials games? Were you like big
with the bike one?
Yeah, the bike one. Yeah, the Ubisoft ones.
Yeah.
I would, at least right now, I'm liking what I'm playing of it. The one thing I don't like is it, and they all do this, the super teams, the cards, it's got the cards in it. It's a cheaper title, but it's still got the cards, and you open them in the boxes and the loot.
Oh, I hate that shit.
I do too, but here's what's weird, man. I don't know, maybe I'm glad, maybe Coke would cause me to do this if I did it, but I have no drive to do it. I don't have the, what's the term? The addictive personality for those.
That's good.
Yeah, they just popped up and I'm like, purple, what's that mean? Oh, it's a guy, whatever. And I think I pretty much just put best people in best places. Like I didn't even look at what I had. I was just like, whatever.
It's weird.
Moved on.
I think I'm the same. Like gambling never, like I gamble sometimes or do loot boxes or whatever, but I never like felt like the rush or the need or the addiction or anything. I never got to me that way.
Have you noticed both you and I though like loot games where they have a chest to open loot?
Yeah, I love loot.
That's
where it's like,
interesting.
Like stuff in the world. Where
yeah,
you pick
it has to be in the world, right? It's better.
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah. Now, I don't want to give anybody ideas. Somebody's going to figure out a way to like adjust all the boxes in the world if you buy a microtransaction, right? They'll be like, we're going to raise all the items to rare. Shouldn't even say it out loud.
Because, like I prefer like the Bethesda style of looting stuff in the world. Like I think at one point a couple months ago I was like, I had the need, I just wanted to play a looter game, and when I type in like, hey, give me some looter games, like Google looter games, it'd give me like Borderlands and Division and stuff, but that's not the loot that like satisfies me. Like the random drops and shit doesn't satisfy me as much as you find stuff in the world and pick them up, opening cabinets and interacting with like drawers and shit and like picking junk and seeing which I love, like looking at stuff and analyzing and see what sells for more and resources and shit like that. So and I don't know what to call these games. Like I don't know how to search for those, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say that you're different than me because I was uncomfortable watching you play Starfield because you were leaving shit in boxes. You choose what to grab, man, not me. Man. Yeah, like I'm just like
inventory space is valuable.
Yeah, it's a big deal in that game, right? It's a big deal. It was just interesting to see the difference in how you play, but we both do seem to gravitate towards the games where there's an interaction to get the item versus any kind of secondary screen. Like, I don't. If it's a secondary
like mobile shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I guess you'd call it mobile. I just mean like I want it in the game. I don't want it.
Yes. Yeah.
There's something about that just doesn't feel. I like opening a box.
Yeah, we were talking about Darktide and Vermintide. One thing that I was like about was like after every level up or mission or whatever, you get like the menu screen with the treasure box upgrading to like legendary and then opening.
Yeah.
I don't like that as much as like, oh, I killed someone, I'm gonna loot his shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't feel as good. $5 super chat. Thanks for the podcast, fellas. That's from Luke. You bet, man. Thank you for the super chat. ACG on Coke would be an absolute nightmare. Yeah, that is probably pretty true. Let's see. And people are asking about Mutant League football. Is this game like Mutant League? In some ways it is, but you can't do the things where like you put landmines down. This is more of a contained backyard, professional backyard football, like the best of the best in each city get together. So you still have a feel of professionalism. You can't blow people away. You can't do bloodborne kind of stuff, blood bowl kind of stuff. You can just play your football, customize your teams, and then they have league and they have multiplayer and they have all that kind of stuff. I liked what I played, but I just, whenever there's any of those boxes, like they started to pop up when I was playing and I just stopped going to that screen. I just was like, whatever, I'm just going to play. I'm going to throw the ball. And the animations are awesome. They're over the top. Like you'd kill somebody. You get like 3 people lifting one of the other players up in the air and pile driving him into the ground to tackle him. Like that kind of kinetic. But it's called Wildcard Football if anybody wants to check it out. It's pretty enjoyable.
Dude, they should put like Terry Crews in a game like that.
Yeah, right.
He's like a perfect for something like that, right?
Well, and they have real players popping up too. Because I saw Terrell Owens. Okay. Yeah, I saw was it Montana? Marino. Yeah. So they definitely have some actual players and stuff like that. Let's see. People are saying, oh, somebody just brought something up I want to ask you about. They're talking about loot system in a survival game. Did you see Shroud, or what's that? Unshrouded or Shroud?
I heard about that. I didn't really look into it.
It's like
that much.
Dark Souls and survival mixed together. It looked
Unshrouded.
Unshrouded. Yeah, that looked pretty sweet. I could be wrong. It could suck. But what I saw of that looked very, very cool. It's called Unshrouded.
Is that a multiplayer action for up to 16 players? Co-op survival up to 16 players. Oh, okay. So it's like kind of like a vampire, what the fuck, V-Rising type of deal.
But the bosses are like Dark Souls.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. I see like how there's like dodge rolling and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
so you have to sort of build up to not only survive the environment, but if you want to like defeat these bad guys that are corrupting the locations, I guess.
You know, one thing though I would be worried about, survival games usually have very, very janky combat. If they could like actually make the combat feel as good as a Souls-like or a Souls game, that'd be really, really good. But they usually have very, very janky shit. Like,
I mean, in some Souls games don't do combat well. We've seen failures in that area. Atlas Fallen's getting remade because of that. So, yeah, it's hard to do, right?
Atlas Fallen. Wait, what's Atlas Fallen?
Lords of the Fallen. Lords of the Fallen, but Atlas Fallen's another one.
Oh,
a lot of Fallen. Yeah, Atlas Fallen's. There's some Dark Souls stuff. Atlas Fallen's the desert one.
Oh, that one. Are they remaking that or something?
No, I meant Lords, but there was too many Fallens
gotcha.
in one
there
sentence.
Is Atlas Fallen. Yeah. Oh, that's the. I was very excited for this one, but it turned out to be okay. Right.
Blade says, ACG, will you have a Lords of the Fallen review? I will not. Lords of the Fallen was weird. They were saying that there were no codes available, and then I saw people had codes, and it's a money situation where I have to do some work, and they just kept talking about pushing it out, and it seems to be streamers, weirdly enough, and so I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna cover Spider-Man and a couple other games, so I actually moved on. Lords of the Fallen, it interests me a lot, but I also realized last week I don't necessarily know if I want to jump into a game like that right now. I don't know what it is, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, you know what? That takes, especially as a reviewer, it can take 2 weeks, and then you're thinking about what works, and then you're making a new build. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what, man? I think streamers have shown so much of that game now. Like Fighting Cowboy, I think, has 50 videos. So it's like, at this point, it's not a review is actually probably just going to be lost in the chaff of all of these Let's Plays, because they went ham on the streamers. Like,
dude, you might as well do
nuts.
You might as well do like a discussion about it afterwards, or like something, you know? What I mean?
And I'm going to be honest, man. I'm playing a lot of games. I don't even know when I will get to that game, because I won't want to get to it, right? I won't want to turn it on and run around. I want to play it. And the idea of getting to that and actually engaging in it is going to be difficult.
I'm very excited for it. The setting just really, really interests me. I didn't really gel with Lies of P. I didn't like the setting. It didn't really drive me forward. You know what I mean? There was nothing for me there. I know it's a great game and people love it. It's just not for me. But when I just look at Lords of the Fallen, I'm like, oh fuck, there's like it's like high fantasy, and there's this like dark side of it, and like fucking monsters and shit. And I'm like, oh, yes, dude, you know, swords and like I saw like that first boss with like the wings and the golden swords and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's. I really want to get into that world.
Lies of P also just doesn't have exploration in the same way. It doesn't have the mystery of a normal Dark Souls. So if it's an odd title also, I'm just going to be brutally honest. I think cost matters in Xbox Live, you know, so there's a lowering of expectations. I think with Lies of P, there was already a lowered expectation, because I saw a lot of people saying, I don't know, man, this looks... So when you get into it and it delivers even somewhat of what you wanted. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Mirage did the same thing, I feel. Mirage was good to be on Uplay. You could get it on Connect and play it for whatever, $15, and it was $10 cheaper, I think. Price matters. But yeah, I think Lords of the Fallen looks awesome. But I'm being honest, man, when there's that much coverage, at some point it feels masturbatory to talk about it too much, because it's like there's so much coverage that all you're really doing is you're just talking over the... I don't know. There's just something about it where it's like there's already enough people who are playing it. There's so many samples of gameplay. There's saturation. And I like those are the type of games where I don't feel a drive to like get the word out. I'm like, the word's out. Word's out on that one. we'll talk about it in the podcast. Atlas Fallen was pretty good with a friend. Lords of the Fallen would be pretty good as well. Is Lords? I can't remember. Is Lords of the Fallen also co-op, or is it just single player?
Yes, and they're gonna. Well, from what I've heard or like reading the description, they're not gonna have a limit on how much your partner is gonna be able to stay with you. Like, it's not gonna be the case where it's like, oh, you kill a boss, he gets teleported out of your game. Like, you can just.
Right. Yep. I know. Yeah.
You can ride straight through the game.
Yeah.
Co-op. I think that's what it is. Maybe if you die, he gets kicked out, but hopefully not, right? Hopefully it has like a normal co-op experience, so they don't try the stupid tribal weird.
What if you're in the Umbra and you kill a boss, the other guy's not in it, and the boss just dies in front of him because he killed him? It'd be pretty fucking sweet. Yeah.
What if invasions happen in the Umbral or something? I don't know. I didn't
it has. That is one thing. It's so Liza P. Not only does it not have any real mystery, which is fine by the way, but it's combat. It's there, but it's not too cumbersome at all. Dude, when you look at Lords, there's a lot going on. There's like multiple so one of those things where when you say I don't know what's going on, it's like I don't think anybody does. It's going to require a ton of detailed time. And I don't think people have had it long enough, especially for me. I would want to do 2 or 3 builds, and I just don't think
there's a lot of interesting mechanics, man. Like, I look at it and I'm like, okay, this is adding enough. Like, when I was talking about Liza P, it's a great game. I know a lot of people like it, but like, it obviously, let's say, got a lot of inspiration from
it's Dark Souls
software,
light,
right? Yes, but this one, it seems like they pushed a lot of their own shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. They also reworked, or not reworked because it wasn't their game before, like from software games. But the way spells work, and this usually in Souls likes, like even in Neo, dude, spells weren't really like they were like consumables pretty much. Like, you just press it, and then in Dark Souls or Elden Ring, you have to switch between them with like one button and then just press a button, right? And then when I look at Lords, it's like, oh, you actually hold down the trigger button and you got like 4 spells, and you can combo, and then you can combo different stances of the weapon, so you can have like a one hand, like a sword in one hand, and then mid combo go to like 2 hands and stuff, and that really interests me, man. It seems like it has a lot of shit going on to be its own thing.
And also proves once again the point that big development teams are everywhere. They have 400 developers working on it. It's a big team. 400.
400
Damn.
But the budget isn't like a triple. Is it a triple A?
It's
budget?
pretty. I mean, dude, 400 developers, even if you're going to a low income location, is pretty high. Once you get 400, it's like, it depends on how you got the money, but overall, that's pretty much a triple A.
That's like more than Bethesda, right?
On some games, probably, but I mean, 400. 400's massive. 400 is the number you hear a lot of times when people bitch about a Ubisoft game. Gotcha, they'll be like, here's this means something, and it's like, well, if it means something, Lords of the Fallen's got it too.
Big company bad.
God, right. What's your favorite weapon ever in a Dark Souls game? Or I say Dark Souls, but let's be honest, you know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Neo.
Yeah, anything.
Oh, fuck, man. Neo has a lot of good ones. Obviously, I love the Kusarigami, right? Like the
best weapon ever made. Yeah.
Love that one. I love, the Tonfas, dude. Have you ever did a Tonfa run?
I don't like Tonfas.
Oh, dude, Tonfas are sick. You go you dance around an enemy. You kind of go and do like, brr, 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 you know what I mean? Like low stance and shit. And you do twirls and stuff. Really, really fun. All those like those little weapons and Neo. I also really love the big weapons. Okay, I'm just naming every weapon. I'll go with Tonfas from Neo too. What about you?
Kusarigama
for sure. Yeah, Kusarigama. Yeah.
It is. I even asked Johnny was playing Liza Pi, and I'm like, dude, is there a chain weapon in this? And he's like, nah, not really. Not the way you're thinking. I was like, damn. Now every game that doesn't have like a full chain weapon, it bothers me. But it's got to be so hard to balance. You got to figure out where that chain is going to hit an enemy if they're to your side, but you're swinging it around your body. There's all kinds of difficulties for balancing that. But Neo,
for sure,
nailed. Like, once I found it, it didn't even matter that it was the best weapon, because it's not. It's got it's good in some places, but it's really weak in others. I was like, I don't care. It's just, it looks cool. And I used to like katanas, just Gennaro stuff, but after a while, I completely burned out on any of the normal sword. I mean, sword and board's been fun for a couple of these games. Having a shield's always nice. And big weapons are great, but a lot of times the big weapons don't look very cool to me. They usually look like somebody just took a car bumper and sharpened it, and I'm like, yeah, it's not really, like
the Buster Sword.
Yeah, the Buster. It's exactly what I was meaning. Yeah, where I just don't buy it. But then you see sometimes like there's a mallet in Liza Pie that looks like a meat tenderizer for slamming steaks and getting them tender, but it's been blown up to gargantuan proportions, and that to me those are enjoyable. And I love the hammer in the hunting game, World.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter World.
Where you can like charge it while running and go like.
Bro, I was having not the greatest time reviewing that on my own because I guess I just didn't have the greatest weapon. I switched to the hammer, and I was like, oh my god, I can finally. It felt so good to switch to the hammer in that game. But what about you guys in chat? What's your favorite?
I love the long sword in Monster Hunter because the parrying feels so good, dude. You like do a spin while you parry a monster and shit, and you hear that ding. It's just very, very satisfying.
So, are you a parry or a dodge or are you a parry, dodge or a block fan?
I'm a parry guy. But the parry has to feel good. You know what I mean? Like Sekiro,
Yeah.
Or like I like the parrying with the little buckler and Elden Ring, but it's very weird parrying in that game, or like in a Souls game. It's like
game's got to hit it right, man. And sometimes you're playing a game and you're like, oh, the dodge feels good, but the block doesn't, or the block feels good, but the parry doesn't, or the parry feels good, but the other two don't. I'm a huge fan of. I like dodging.
Yeah, but like in Monster Hunter, dude, it's just you have like 4 different parries, right? And like one of them is like the spin that I talked about. The other one is like you moving back. There's like very different ways of parrying, and all of them together, you just feel like a fucking mastermind. You know what I mean? You're like, damn, I just played you like a fiddle.
But monster can't understand English. And you're standing over it. You're like, I played you like a fiddle when I was running the orchestra. And the monster's like, dude, I'm just dying, man. Like, calm down.
But I was gonna say, like, my favorite thing about Neo, though, even like looking back to like Neo 1, is like the way they layer, like the game starts and it kind of tricks you into thinking like it's just a Souls-like, because it starts and you don't even have a stamina bar, so they don't teach you about key pulse or whatever, right?
Right.
And you kind of go like, okay, this is like a Souls-like, and then there's like the key pulse. And you spend a lot of time like kind of learning how to do the key pulse. And it's like, oh, now I'm going to learn how to do the key pulse while stance switching. And it's like, oh, now you have skills that let you combo into different stances that you can key pulse at the same time. And it's just keeps going and going.
Pretty soon you look like Muhammad Ali, where you're just shuffling your feet around.
And then you're like, and then at the end you're like, oh shit, this is like Ninja Gaiden more than it is like a Souls.
And also I think the enemies in even Wulong, right, is the other one. I like human enemies a little bit more than Monster Hunter. I do have a tendency to like human enemies, and I like Neo's enemies for the most part. They have the crazy ones, but there's something about 2 guys with swords and you've got a Kirsagama and you're like, let's do this and see who comes out on top. Like, it's almost like the legendary discussion you'd have with a friend: broadsword versus katana. What would happen? And you get to do it yourself, which is always awesome. It's a cool feeling, sort of nostalgic. Dude, I absolutely love the hammer in Monster Hunter, especially Monster Hunter World. Yeah, I liked World more than Rise was the next one, right? Rise was the other one. Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise.
It was good.
It's the more like fast-paced one. It's a more movement. You know what I mean? And I love them both for very different reasons.
Yeah, I love them both, but I think I liked World's just size and the span of it, and it just felt something about it just felt awesome, no matter what I was doing.
It felt more natural. It felt more kind of like there was like a flow to it, more methodical, where you were tracking the monster, and it was like a slow process, and you're foraging on the way. I love foraging in that game, and you kind of build up and then find the monster. Where Hunter Rise is like, get on your fucking dog and just run straight towards the monster and fight him. It's more like action based.
Did you do a lot of co-op in those games and team, or did you? I did mostly solo, not all of it, but about 80% solo, 20% multiplayer.
I did World. I did solo up to a point, and then co-op with a friend, and then Rise. I did solo for like 50 hours, and then the rest, I think like 70-80 hours, I played with my ex at the time.
Gotcha. Yeah, Rise, I definitely do feel that the speed and everything is really cool in Rise, but there's just the expansion feel of the world is just, it's bigger and more open worldy, and for whatever reason that fit my idea. I did like the swing bug or whatever that fucking thing was called in Rise, the Wirebug.
Yeah,
Wirebug.
it added another dimension to it, right?
Yeah, it was definitely cool. Moving on from there. So did you see? So Last of Us 2 getting remaster. You know, there's all these leaks.
Yeah, what the fuck, dude?
I know what the fuck. And it's our fault.
Naughty Dog isn't making a new game, dude. What are they doing? Why
they
keep
are
remastering this
I'll
shit?
tell you why, man. They have
it's like
figured
a
out a way.
game.
It doesn't matter. They're monetizing. They're monetizing the replay community, man. It's one community that talks all the time. How many YouTube videos, how many streamers do you hear talking about replaying a game? It's all the time. Podcasts, replaying a game. What are you playing?
But
I'm replaying
looks
this.
Fucking good, dude. Have you seen the game?
But it doesn't matter. It's because they've figured out that there's this massive community. If you look at SEO, the replay community, unless there's a big AAA game, is bigger than the new game community. And they have figured that out. And they're the first ones. They're not the only ones, but they're the first ones to really figure out that they can. It doesn't matter what the status quo think. It matters what the sell-through will be. And they're monetizing a crowd that does not currently exist. It doesn't. If you look at most most remasters, they are farther out than this. Sony has figured out
at least 10 years.
Yeah, at least 10 years. Sony has figured out that it doesn't require it to look worse to make it again. That what they're doing is monetizing everything that has to do with the replay community, which is massive. You're seeing people do old reviews. You're seeing people do replay Let's Plays. You're seeing people do all this kind of stuff. Entire podcasts are based around replaying games. We talk about it all the time. They just did the data. I absolutely believe that they hired a data company, or they've got one at Sony, I'm sure, and they said, what's the expected return on monetizing the replay community? And the return is massive. It's unbelievable. And Sony has been making people chomp at the bit for so long for their games that they're able to do the PC versions now. They're able to do remakes and remasters. Anytime a new hardware comes out, the Slim, the Pro, remaster it.
Yeah.
Dude,
I can see it. Like if they did like a director's cut with like more shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, what is a remaster? Like, what are they remastering? Like, are they just improving textures? Like, are they adding more, lighting, shadowing, RT? Like, what the fuck are they doing to that game? Like, are they gonna add more gameplay, more story elements, more, what are they doing?
I also think that Sony sells enough consoles that they look at the new owners and they think, instead of having a new owner buy a $20 game, we want the new owner to buy the $40 remake. They look at the cost of remaking it.
You think that's how they're gonna?
Oh yeah,
they're gonna sell it for 40.
Well, or even 60. They just know that Microsoft has got away with putting all their games day one. Sony doesn't want to do that. There's all these kind of stuff.
They would charge 60 for a Last of Us 2 remaster. You think? Oh fuck, they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Oh shit, damn. That would.
Because here's the difference.
That's crazy,
if it's a straight old game and they remaster it, usually people assume it's going to be 30 or 40. They remaster a new one. I do not in any way, shape, or form. They're going to go exactly the opposite of what everybody thinks, because the smaller crowd who rebuys it will pay more than a bigger crowd that rebuys it at a lower cost. It's just numbers, man. And they've.
What the fuck is the value proposition, though?
The replay community. No one's feeding it right now. Like, dude, I did some numbers last weekend that were nuts when I was looking at replay. It was legitimately insane how few companies pick from that replay. Here's what they do normally. They put it on their service, or they drop the price and they get you to go to the old one. But when you look at a port of a game that's already done, you crank up the graphics a little bit. Maybe you do add ray tracing. Maybe you add albums, photos. Maybe you add accessibility, by the way, which I think Last of Us 2 had great accessibility. So I want to make sure I point that out.
It was like the pioneer. Yeah. It was so good.
But when I started studying it, this was about 2 weeks ago when I started thinking about it, and then a week ago, and they announced this, and I started looking, and I was just like, oh, I know what it is. And here's another thing. As new streamers and stuff get in, I may not cover a remake, but somebody new will, which is, once again, it doesn't cost them any more than $60 to give a code, but there might be only 1,000 people who watch that person's video. But if they sell 2, they just made their money back. And so what's going on is the replay community and the number of people where you can regurgitate that content is staggeringly high. Will it stay high? I don't think so. I think a lot of that stuff is going to start to sort of peter out. But right now, that's what they're doing. I mean, and Sony does it all the time. We're going to talk about the PS5 Slim, but that's Sony's thing.
Well, you got season 2 coming out of the show, right?
For the show,
so that's probably going to coincide with the remaster.
Yep. And I mean, dude, it once you look at it the way, like, I'm not saying this is, no one's done this, but once I started looking at it as a monetization of the replay community, then I started looking at replay channels and all this stuff. I was like, oh shit, this person had 1 million views on a replay, but they only had 1.2 or sorry, 120K. Any kind of replay community and discussion. So when you and I aren't talking about new games, many times you just said, I returned to Darktide.
Oh yeah, I want to replay this game. I want to replay that game.
And what's happening is they get the best of those and they track it and they look at data for replays, for discussion, for what have you. And they look at the sales of their console and they look at new people who are going in. And by the way, there's no physical market or much of a market anymore. So they know they can control that part too. I mean, there's a reason why it costs more to technically do the physical version on the PS5 Pro or the PS5 Slim. You know, if you try to get the digital and then turn around and buy the CD slot or whatever, it costs you more technically. But yeah, the replay community is massive, man. I mean, I was just looking a couple days ago, old reviews are starting to be a thing now where somebody's like, I went back and played Invisible War for Deus Ex and they got like 700,000 views. It does not take a genius to start looking at that and going, oh.
Yeah, but Invisible War, dude, came out in like, what, 98, 99 or whatever?
Right. But that's just one example. That's one example. And what I was saying was that person also did a brand new game review that only had 120,000. It's because it doesn't matter the age. We are seeing earlier. But that's because they want to hit it when it's hot. They want to hit people going like, oh, well, I had an issue with this game. Well, we'll change that and remaster. We want to do this. You and I don't think this way. And by the way, I think many of us get on the not the regurgitation, we get on the recycling of big title, small title, and we're jumping forward. There is a massive number of people who would love to replay those games, or might be their first time. And Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo are starting to see that, and they're starting to monetize it.
Yeah, but the game is available, and you can play at 60 FPS on PS5 and get it for probably cheap at this point.
That game, yes, but not always, man. Not always.
Yeah, but yeah, of course not always. Like Red Dead just did it, right? They added 60 FPS or whatever. But
only to PlayStation, strangely.
Yeah, that's weird. But Last of Us 2, like you play I think, is it 4K 60? But like you can just, and it looks amazing. That game is like one of the best looking games, dude. But came out like 3 years ago.
But dude, we just saw people buy secondary PS5s because they changed the skin.
The skin, the Spider-Man thing?
Yeah, any of those. We've seen hundreds.
People bought like a second PS5, and
I know multiple people with 2 or 3 PS5s because they had different skins, or Gears of War Collector's Edition that's just sitting in a box because they're collecting. And those people who purchase things don't follow the same line you and I do. They don't follow. And by the way, there's nothing. I'm not saying they're worse or better. They follow a different line. And it's not just that though. It's when something is new and coming out, people look at it, and Sony, all these companies are realizing, especially as digital's the thing, they can regurgitate that, and you just won't see the old one on sale. By the way, we saw that with PS5 Slim. We'll talk about it, but they said that once the original PS5 version sold out, this new one is the version. Yeah. And that's sort of what we're seeing with games.
Prices for stuff too. So
yeah, but I'm telling you, when I did the numbers for replay, it was beyond belief. Like it was not as big as AAA. That would be ridiculous. It's not as big as brand new games, but it is massive, and the port cost is so low compared to an original creation. Yeah, and they don't care.
The thing is, I see in terms of content creation, and I've had this idea before. A good value proposition for replaying like an older game, right? Like let's say I picked up like
leave it alone. Go ahead.
Here's a good example. A lot of people love Witcher 3 and they played Witcher 3 and stuff. A lot of people do not want to play the original Witcher 1 because it looks janky, it plays janky as fuck, and they don't want to go through all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Funnily enough, they're making a remake of that game, but like I see like a value, like a content idea would be, oh, I played The Witcher 1 today, so you don't have to, and I'll tell you how I found it after playing Witcher 3, for example. You know, that's like the type of shit I can see of you know what I mean? Or like obviously like the old Deus Ex, or a lot of people don't want to engage with the old kind of archaic systems and shit. So like content creators would do it for them and then tell them about it, right? So how is this game in 2023? How is that game in 2023? But I just do not see any value proposition for for something that recent.
So if you have like 5, I think the odds are right in what I'm saying. It could be a slightly large number, but it's like if you have 10 people in a room, the chances of both people having the same birthday is like 50%. It starts to rise dramatically because the number of your sample rate gets larger. What's going on is games are larger. So gaming, as it balloons out, the small section you and I see that maybe was 1,000 gamers in the 1990s has turned into 3.2 million gamers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what those companies, it doesn't make sense to us because we don't imbibe in that way. But the replay community, it is massive, and it goes almost to FOMO. Also, by the way, the number of people who say I'm going to hold off on getting a game until it's patched or cheaper, there is something to be said that, oh, there's the new one coming out and it's a remake. I didn't buy the original because I was holding out, blah, blah, blah. And there is this time frame where I think a lot of people skip games because they just don't have the money and they don't buy it, what have you. And then a game comes and it's a remake and they can get back into the FOMO right away. They can get back into that group. And it's a smaller group than the original, but it's a massive group in numbers. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, it's almost like when we talk about China and you're like, people. Oh, it's 1%. And you're like, yeah, that's like 500 million
that's
people. A lot. You know, yeah.
Right. But dude, I just thought of something. You know what would be like the biggest dick move? Didn't they
dickhead or like big dick energy?
Dick move.
Oh, what?
No, like biggest shitty move. Didn't they announce a while ago that they're adding like this whole multiplayer mode to Last of Us 2?
Yeah.
Right. So people are gonna have 2 versions of that. Are they gonna make it so that you can only play this multiplayer mode in the remastered version, or are they gonna make it so that remastered players can play with like the normal player, or are they just gonna separate the servers?
Well, they lost one of their major heads last week too for the multiplayer mode. One of them left.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's in trouble or not. Yeah. I mean, dude, you go to Twitter, you go to Facebook, and you see these things, and you're like, everybody must be talking about this. And then you talk to your friends or your spouse or your family members, and they're like, what are you talking about? And that's where we are now, is it doesn't matter the hubbub or the outcry. It's just there's money sitting on the table that these companies are seeing. It's just there. And especially with Sony, we've all wanted their games to be on PS or on PlayStation, PC for the longest period of time.
PC with the remastered, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and yet they haven't nailed PC very often. You know, they've had some shit releases, so it's going to take them a while. But there are people who will buy that remaster, if it comes out. I mean, it's a different group of people, but it's definitely there because when I was doing the numbers, I was like, you could create a channel that would be in the multi-millions of viewers and subscribers just doing like the replay community of games that are 2 to 4 years old. Yeah.
Like people call it what, retroactive or whatever. Mercury in retrograde.
Sorry, somebody was Sony. You're talking about Sony. Yeah, we talked about the Sony guy leaving, about Jim Ryan leaving. Well, technically not leaving. They had layoffs at Naughty Dog. It seems like it might be that the multiplayer might be canceled. Yeah, we've heard a lot about that kind of stuff. Is that there's definitely an issue behind the scenes with that. Who knows? They may have put those people like on the remaster.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the multiplayer. I'm sorry, but the multiplayer for those games I think could be amazing, but they would require a lot of work to make it balanced and feel good. The factions, the good guys versus the bad guys. What do you have the clickers coming out during the fight? You know, is it PvE, PvP, blah, blah, blah. They may have just said, let's do the remake and not worry about it. I don't know if that's true, but...
Oh, whatever, man. It's just...
It sucks because we don't see it that way, but a lot of people I know see it that way. Why are they... This is Hush Out Ghoul, $2 super chat. Why are they not remastering the old multiplayer? I think multiplayer is a different beast now, man.
Yeah, it's not the same as before, where you could slap on a deathmatch mode onto a game.
Yeah, it's a different beast, and I think that they look, they look at it and they decide, and if money's there, they'll do it. But I think for whatever reason, it doesn't fit today's market. Luke, $5 super chat. Thanks for all the podcast fellas. You bet, man. Thank you for watching. Hush Out Ghoul also says $2 super chat. Oh no, he asked twice, so two times. I can refund that, my friend, if you did it twice on accident. But yeah, that's coming out. So let's talk about the PlayStation 5 Slim. All right. So the price is raised, and
for the digital edition.
For the digital, and you don't get a stand for the vertical.
A vertical stand. Yeah,
you get the little prick for horizontal.
Yeah, that's so fucking. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that, dude? What, dude? My PS5 came with like its whole stand and everything, and I can put it horizontal and vertical. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, dude. Sony just seems more and more anti-consumer the more I just like.
So let me ask you a question without leading it.
Worse than Nintendo. I swear to God, they're becoming worse than Nintendo.
Okay, without leading this question, so I'm just going to say, what do you think about the PSVR 2, the Portal, the PS5 Slim, and the PSVR, the Portal, PS5 Slim, and next year possibly the PS5 Pro? When I say all that to you, what do you think?
Stupid as fuck, man. Well, not stupid for us, but like profitable for them, I guess. I mean, the thing is, it is stupid for them. Like when I think of the Portal, I think this is like the stupidest shit in the world. Like that's the stupidest fucking thing. It's way overpriced, and like you need this special headphones. You can't connect any Bluetooth.
Yeah, you can't use Bluetooth headphones.
It's a weird fucking thing where it doesn't even stream from the internet. You got to stream from your own PS5, and they could have had something really cool with that. And idiocracy, stupidity. It's just, I don't know. But the VR. It's always okay. VR is a very nuanced discussion, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like VR has potential, dude, but nobody goes there. Only like 1 or 2 games went there. And when PSVR came out, they just released it with nothing. They just went like, here's a PSVR 2, it's better than the PSVR 1. I think my dad got it day one, he never put it on. It's collecting dust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was really, really weird because they didn't imagine having like a big Sony exclusives in VR. You know what I mean? Like not the Horizon arcadey thing, but imagine having like a full on, like a Half-Life Alyx. That would have been awesome. That would have been with the VR headset or whatever. And then there's this, and right before the PS5 Slim, they did raise the price of they're just doing a lot of crazy shit. They raised the price of the PS Plus subscription at the same time. So they're just doing a lot of weird shit where they're just like, fuck, we need money. Like we were just like super profit geared, you know what I mean? They're just going crazy right now. They're going ham. They're raising prices everywhere. They're doing weird ass things. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on with them.
So
dude.
I just think of saturation point. And you know, sometimes you'll get that egotistical person who signs their first contract in the NFL and now they have 5 Escalades, and you're like, dude, you're gonna be in deep shit. Like there is something about it. It's almost like they're like, okay, we're doing really well. Let's saturate everything and just see what sticks. And that to me is it'll take a while, and I don't know if anybody will hold it against them, because Sony is almost impervious in the long run for things being held against them. But it does seem odd when there's all these coverages. The stream device doesn't use the cloud, which, by the way, the cloud finally turns on next month, or at the end of this month. They're finally adding some games to streaming. We don't know how that'll work. It couldn't be much worse than the Xbox One because their bitrate is so bad right now. But it's just saturation, man. And it is so weird that we didn't get a Killzone, you know, or something like that with PSVR. It was just boom, here it is, and no one. It's almost like they figure out they make a little bit of money on the hardware and they just sell it, and they're like, okay, well, we made a little money on the hardware and we just move. We can say we have PSVR.
That would have been a good return to Killzone, right?
Yeah,
with the VR.
Yeah, I think Killzone on the PS4. Remember, they showed all the videos and the glassy skyscrapers. It was not Resistance. It was the other one. It was I can't remember the name, but you had all these cool bits, and that's the thing that PSVR 2 just lacks. And what we've seen is other companies support it, like No Man's Sky did the eye tracking, so now the graphics look amazing in it, but it's like no one's using it. It's just, it's not even discussed. And VR is in a hard place right now, but also Portal's in a hard place. That Portal device is like, here's a device that they sold. They're like, hey, man, you can play this device if your wife is on watching a show, or your husband's watching a show, or your child is watching a show. You can play it without a screen. But then they said you can't use Bluetooth with it. You have to use our headset. And you're like, wait, what?
And it's $200.
And it's $200. Yeah. And there's a lot of caveats with everything, right? PSVR 2, not backwards compatible. And I know people said, oh, it'd be difficult. Well, it's also difficult to have no games for the consumer. This is something we heard Zuckerberg say. He showed Meta in the very end, stupidly said, now we just have to build the apps. And it's like, dude, it's like every platform ever. You have to build the games for a console. You have to build the apps for VR. It's like, we all know that. Why are you showing us all this stuff? It's what they want is somehow for it to catch on like Facebook. They want something to catch on and be so big that selling even a small amount into it will do well. And it's weird. They've got a lot. I mean, the Slim, I looked at the Slim and I was like, okay, I get, you know, some people are going to like it. What have you? You know, I don't care. But I did find it interesting that when Xbox's leak of a panel of their new Xbox came out without a disk drive, you had thousands of websites and articles about game preservation. Xbox wants to kill game preservation. And then Sony announces that they actually are going to put a premium on your prices to get, you know, your discs, all this kind of stuff. And nobody says a thing. They're just like, and by the way, these are premier websites, premier like YouTubers.
They don't even Microsoft thing like a theory, kind of like it's like they think that everything is going to be more cloud-based in the future. Where I think we all thought that, like we all think that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're all talking about like in the future having just like a very small device,
right,
that you just plug and play, like.
And I think if you, by the way, this feeds into the same thing. If you have 20 billion people doing something, then a small amount of cloud is still a ton amount. It's a ton of people. So. You have that too. But yeah, dude, it's saturation, man. I don't know. What do people in the chat think about the PS5 Pro? No, PS5 Slim. Oh, and that's what I want to bring up. If they do a PS5 Pro next year, they're in deep shit, man. People are going to be like, what? You just sold this? Like, that's the thing.
I don't think Pro versions are going to happen this generation.
I mean, it seems like the Pro for PS5 is, well, they're done. Yeah. So why do you not? So you don't think they're gonna? Xboxes sounds like it wasn't really upgraded. It was just condensed and some stuff. PS5 Pro's rumors that it's more powerful, but you don't think they'll be? You think maybe they'll look at it and be like, this might not.
I feel like this generation is just the weirdest generation.
It is weird.
Them all, you know what I mean?
It is weird
because COVID happened and people weren't able to buy those consoles for a long, long time. I feel like the generation's gonna either be a longer one, or there's just not going to be like a mid-generation console. You know what I mean? I feel like you know, I don't know, because at this point, what are you going to do with the Pro? What are you going to offer?
I know
you're going to have a whole slew of video games that are pushing it forward to the point where 60 FPS isn't going to be possible with them, and then release another version that does 60 FPS. But I don't know what else they could push forward at this point with a mid-generation.
Yeah, because console. 4K 60 FPS was the not lie, but it sort of was, where even Microsoft has it on their box. They're like, hey, look at this. And we know, as any game developer knows, a game developer can make a game run at 1 FPS. If they want to throw a billion, and we're going to talk about Alan Wake's discussion that happened earlier this week, but you look at it and you're like, dude, any developer can ruin 60 FPS. It absolutely can happen. So unless they say, developers, you have to have your minimum be 4K 60, which, by the way, I think most developers would be fine with, but a lot would chafe at, because some games, they might, a Detroit Become Human, they might like, well, I want to do 8K 30, you know, and there's that discussion. But I mean, Ratchet and Clank had 5 levels of graphics, so it had like a 40, I think, or it got patched in later.
120 and shit.
Yeah, and that's another thing, 120. It's like 120 was sold, and I was joking about this yesterday. I was like, in a console in particular, people are like 120, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, I'm like, why are these guys not doing a mouse and keyboard? Because I am sorry, 120 with a controller is still 120 with a controller. And I love controllers. I have no issues with them. But when I see a 120, I'm a little less excited because it doesn't have, you know, a lot of these games don't have mouse and keyboards.
If it's on controller, I don't give a shit about anything over 60.
60 is probably mouse, like,
that's a different.
Let's get it locked at 60 and then up the graphics from there. But you are right. There is no, that is the thing currently, other than ray tracing, which all games don't have ray tracing. That's another thing. I don't know why people think ray tracing is all games. It's actually in a minority of games. So if they say, whatever they say won't be guaranteed. And I think consumers are a little burned by that, because Xbox and Sony both sort of were hinting that it was like 4K.
Dude.
Yeah, 4K. Yeah, 120 or 4K 60.
Up to. Yeah. And then they'd put it on the box, or like 8K 120 next to it.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, dude. $400 machines, you're not going to expect it to perform better than a $3,000 machine.
Yeah, Pro would be difficult unless they said, here's a 2 terabyte hard drive, which, by the way, the Slim, did you see that? It adds 200 gigabytes. It adds less than Call of Duty with a couple maps. Like, that's how much bigger. And they're like 1 terabyte. I'm like, dude, that ain't cutting it, man.
Is it going to even have an NVMe slot? Or an empty
it's
slot,
it can do external. It can do externals too. Yeah, it's upgradable, same. But it's just that they didn't really adjust anything. Like, to me, I would say minimum it needs a 2 terabyte hard drive.
It's just a look thing.
Yeah. And it is weird. Somebody on Twitter was saying normally when games continue to move forward, consoles dropped in price. And it's absolutely just not happening. It's just not. Switch, we've seen that for years with the Switch, where it like meanders around a certain price and then they raise in some places.
It's just weird, dude. Even on the front page or picture when they're showing or the trailer when they're showing the PS5 Slim, they show it standing up, man.
I know.
It's like the main way. It's like it standing. That's the design. The whole design is like a tower, dude. And then they charge you an extra $20 to put it in that. That's very. It's just fucked, man.
Dude. It is
$20 for a stand. Dude.
Yeah,
come on.
Here's the thing: it's obvious that they're making it for a profit, and sometimes you see something and you wonder if it's for a profit. This time, like when it was announced, I'm like, oh, that's for sure for a profit. It's like a discless version, but you can still get the disc, and you're like, wait, what? Well, that's more than the. What are you guys doing? Like, it just, it was a weird discussion, and it was cool to see people call it out as odd or weird, but the proof will be in the pudding when it sells, and I just have a feeling it doesn't matter. It'll sell.
It's gonna sell.
A lot of people like to put their foot down, but
plus people ever since the PS5 came out, people were like, oh, I can't wait for the Slim to come out. Like people have been talking about it for a long time.
I don't know about you. This is just me. I saw the size difference. I was not at all impressed. I actually, to me, a Slim is much, much smaller. This is smaller, but
it is smaller, but no,
it's not. It's still got the ugliest design ever with the fucking Tower of Sauron thing.
The router,
like the worst routers. By the way, I hate those routers. They usually have absolute shit coverage too. The new mesh ones are really good, but I don't know, man. You know what I hope? Slim comes out, maybe a better network card, because I'm sorry, people are going to argue, but I think the Xbox and PS5 went with the lowest common network card they possibly could find. They're pretty shit for wireless. When you look at them in
wireless?
comparison.
They're trash.
Yeah,
trash.
It's like the Switch. I hacked the Switch, and the guy who helped me hack it was like, be aware that the network card in the Switch is absolutely trash, and it doesn't matter how powerful. And he was right. I switched it, and I was doing GeForce Now, and it was like holding it towards the router, and you could watch it like dump barely far away. You were like, oh man, this is a bad network. And that does happen. It was obviously for cost. They were trying, but the Xboxes is really bad. I personally, I think the Xboxes is worse than the PlayStations, but I don't think they're either one are very good. They get good speed, but they have a lot of problems, I feel, with like making sure the jitter isn't. It's almost like they have some interference internally, which makes sense. It's a small contained box, but the kickstand reminds me of Miss Piggy. I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Die shrinks aren't happening anymore. Through that. What was that?
The kickstand, like a meme about the kickstand.
It just looks like a little happy prick.
It's like a small thing holding the thing up.
Yeah. It's so weird, man. Selling you basically the same thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're in a weird time. I would have assumed a cheaper price, but I think also they're doing really well. I mean, Microsoft and Sony are doing really well. Sony's not doing as well as they did with PS4. We've now found that out, but it's doing insanely well. So it's like that. Like I said, ego, man. It's Apple. Apple, when they introduced back USB-C, they pretended like it was brand new. And you're like, dude, USB-C, what the fuck? They're like, dude, innovative. We got USB-C. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
Because now they've gotten a ton of people in their ecosystem at this point. People fighting like battles for them online. People that are just like super fucking hungry. They're sucking at the teat that like they could just get away with a lot, I think. But I've to be fair, I've seen a lot of pushback on a lot of shit. I've seen a lot of pushback on the, even from Sony fans and shit. I've seen a lot of pushback on the price increase, the even the slim shit. I've seen a lot of pushback on that. Even the Last of Us 2 enjoyers, like people who love that game and love Naughty Dog, I've seen a lot of people go like, "What the fuck? This doesn't need a remaster." You know what I mean? So, yeah, people are smelling the shite. You know.
Hush How Ghoul, $2 super chat. They've been shrinking the heat sink since release. I don't know what that means. Yeah, when you look at it, we're going to get the same thing from Xbox when they shrink theirs. I hope they shrink theirs even more. I think the Xbox design, a square design, is the best. Like their design is obviously awesome.
It's a tower.
It's a tower,
it's like a PC.
And it pulls all it just works, as Todd would say. Yeah. But so shrinking it may. I saw the thing. I don't know if you saw, but it looks like the Amazon devices in your home. It's like a cylinder for the new one.
Small fridge.
No, round.
The cylinder version. I saw that.
Yeah. So, I'm not 100% sure I want that. Router. Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Or like an Amazon thing. I don't want to say it out loud. Like but yeah. It's like a mesh system in your house.
Right.
Hush How Ghoul, $2 super chat. Apple sells $700 PC wheels. Do they? Do you mean PC wheels? Do you mean, what do you mean? Do you mean Apple? What? Do Apple have specific, are you talking about racing wheels, Hush? Or are you talking about, are you just making a joke?
I heard about something like that. Wait. I heard about something like that.
Dude, because I haven't heard this. I have no clue what we're talking about. Check it out. That'd be interesting.
Wait. Yeah. There's a wheels kit, Apple Mac Pro wheels kit. You can buy a kit that are literally wheels for $869. What?
There you go, Hush.
Put your
You're
Mac
on top
Pro
of it.
on wheels with the Mac Pro
oh
wheels
my
kit.
God, I forgot about this. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, true. Thank you, Hush, for reminding us.
$869. Bro, you can buy a fucking laptop, dude.
Oh, man.
You can buy 2 consoles. You can buy a...
Hey, it's $5 to join my Discord. I'm just telling you, that's a deal. I'll give you wheels. I'll send you wheels. I should make a premium Apple level in the Discord where I just send you some plastic wheels.
No, this is not real, dude.
It's Apple. It's real. Everything from Apple is real. That's the thing, is Apple can do stuff.
Feet?
Yeah.
Apple Mac Pro feet kit, where you put feet on the bottom of the PC.
I love how all my dogs are looking at my earphones right now, because you were saying so loud. I can't even get my voice.
Yeah, I was at Ross, I channeled
Ross. Yeah, definitely.
$369 fucking dollars. Dude, this is insane. This is a whole new world to me. This is crazy. Pro stand for $1,300.
This brings us to the question for this topic,
Sony
though.
Are saints. No, Sony. I'm all for Sony. Dude, Sony is doing nothing.
This brings us to the question, the topic.
What?
The funny question. What's the worst technological thing you've purchased? The most useless, the most egregious technological item that after you get it, or even when you were getting it, you were like, this is just feeding into like that technological gene of the human body that wants more tech.
The first thing that popped into my mind, because I'll think of, I'm sure I have something better, but the first thing that popped into my mind is like, I was like, one night I was just browsing through and I saw like this ad for the Scuff gaming controller or whatever, and like I spent like half an hour just like customizing my own controller and shit. Came up to like $260. I was like, fuck it, dude. I pressed buy. 2 seconds later, dude, I sent them an email. I was like, sorry, my son was on my PC.
Oh, and, dude, yeah.
He just,
you got instant buyer's remorse, man. Instant buyer's remorse.
Dude, I'm not buying a controller for $250.
PS Vita, Wii U, I'm looking. HP Reverb G2 probably. Bought a gaming laptop during COVID knowing I was going to build a PC. Dummy. I know that feel, though. I definitely know that. Where you want something now, but in 6 months you're going to get another something. 32X, yeah, for me it would be the Neo Geo. I didn't buy it new, luckily, but a friend had it and I bought it at a premium.
Expensive,
but
man.
Yeah, $300 games, like they were arcades, which I mean, but back then I was barely paying rent, and I remember I bounced a rent check for the Sega Saturn, and I had to borrow money from a friend, and it was the last time I've ever borrowed money. This was the most. I know that this isn't for everybody, but I've never been that ashamed, man. I bought it. It was too far away to drive it and return it. And I called a friend up who was well off, and that person should not have been victimized because they were well off. A lot of people are well off. I've had it happen to me where people think, oh, he's a YouTuber, let's ask him for some cash. And you're like, dude, I don't know what you think is going on here. But And I felt so bad. Jason, if you're out there, I apologize. But I borrowed my rent money, and he was dude, he would give you the shirt off. He truly is one of those people. You hear it. This guy did. He gave me his hard-earned funds. I've never been more embarrassed in my life.
Oh, yeah.
It was, man, I remember just sitting there and I couldn't even play the system for a while because I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like there's I could have saved for 4 months, whatever. And I never did that again. But it was like that life lesson. Took me a long time to pay that guy back too. Sorry, Jay. Took a long time. You didn't get your interest back on that one, I'm sure. Hush Out Ghoul, I have 3 Switches? What? Regular, portable, and OLED? Oh, yeah, see, there you go. That's PS5 Slim right there. That's what's gonna happen.
I was gonna buy an OLED Switch. I was very close when Tears of the Kingdom was coming out, and then I was like, I had self-control, and I was like, nah, I have one.
So when we look at all the tech, so those are my worst. Anybody in chat, if you have some worse ones, go ahead. I've seen a lot of people saying that it was VR at the time. PS Vita, PSP. You know,
it's funny. Someone mentioned. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, that's all right. Go for it.
It's funny. Someone mentioned gaming laptop. I'm in the midst of arranging a refund for mine because it has issues.
Yeah, you're one. You've had issues. It seems like all the time.
Yeah, and then I think what I'm gonna do is just refund it, get a laptop for work that isn't a gaming laptop for much cheaper, and then I'm upgrading my PC, and then I might buy like the new Lenovo looks pretty cool. The new handheld. I want to see how that pans out. I really want battery to get better, but
dude, G-Deck or G-Cloud just added USB-C out. It didn't have it, and it is my jam now, man.
Oh yeah.
One X Player Pro. See, the reason why I wake up at 3:30 isn't because I have a lot of energy. It's because I need to lift the One X Player Pro for a long period of time because that thing is a beast. It is a good 3 times heavier than the Switch, but it's an 8.4-inch screen, so I love it. But the G-Cloud didn't have USB-C out, so you couldn't do Nreal glasses, you couldn't run a PC, you couldn't like blah, blah, blah. I've never seen it happen. I'm sure somebody's going to correct me. I've never seen a company add the function later. G-Cloud did last week. So they firmwared it, grabbed my Nreal glasses, plugged it into the G-Cloud, and I was like, oh my God, this is absolute. Because Nreal are also OLED.
Oh, the USB before was just in and not out?
It was just power. The USB-C on the G-Cloud originally.
They can patch that in?
I did not know it, by the way.
I thought you had to do some wiring or something.
I actually got a couple handhelds on purpose to test and do that because they didn't have USB-C out on the... I was really disappointed. I was like, oh, wow, this could have been like a good thing for these AR glasses, that kind of stuff. And they patched in, which I just... Somebody will correct me. I'm sure it's happened. I've not seen somebody patch in USB-C out on a device that originally didn't have it. I always thought it was like there must be a bandwidth or but whatever, it works perfect. Handhelds are great though, dude. I got to tell you, man, I was playing Division the night before last. That was actually why we first jumped in the Discord chat, was to talk about this. But I played Division streaming to my G-Cloud while I was in bed, and I played like 5 hours of Division, and it was because I love Ubisoft games. You can run it at a res, but you can crank the resolution. You can crank the resolution factor. And so it goes from 100%, whatever you've had, up to 200. So I just cranked that thing to 200. So the screen just, I mean, it was like, you know, perfect. No polygons, no shimmering, nothing. And I just played hours of Division 2 on that. And that's where...
different feeling when it's handheld, man, like in your hands.
Yep. And it's right there. And you're just like, oh, yeah. The only thing I don't like is all gamepads... usually on the handhelds have short throw versus long throw. So a 360 has a longer stick and it's got a longer throw. When you get into Cyberpunk on a G-Cloud or One X Player, you have to jump into the joystick settings and adjust everything. Otherwise, you're just going to go, oh yeah, because your throw is like 50% what the throw would be on a gamepad that's an Xbox gamepad. It's got the longer stick and it's got a wider hole. So you can go like click, click. You get a mobile device and it's like tick, tick, and the sensitivity is, I was playing, I could not aim in Cyberpunk. I was like, oh my God, I can't play this. And I had to go in and adjust dead zones and stuff. But yeah, I want to talk about that. In fact, I want to talk about the Switch here in a second. Mike Sue, I think I get that right every time. $20 super chat. I used to have fighting sticks for every console I bought. So I have like 7. Dude, fighting sticks are legit reasons to own though, and you can get a fighting. I got a fighting stick that was only like $60. Replaced the switches with the what's the really popular Senkai or I can't remember. There's a popular switch you can. It was only like $60-$70. It's a good, a solid.
What is it?
It's a game stick for like fighting games. An actual stick versus the gamepad. And I think I get why he's saying maybe it was a waste, but I actually think there's a lot of playability on those depending on what kind of games you play.
I like fight sticks. I that's like my preferred way to play fighting games.
It is mine too, but it's like VR where it's one more thing to plug in and pull out of my closet.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And so I can't tell you how I was playing.
Like a big ass hori.
Yep. Do you? Oh yeah. Those are nice. Those are nice. Yeah. My friend Andy, when he comes over, he brings it. Like if we're gonna, he won't. I mean, he can play with a gamepad and he beats everybody, but with the stick. In fact, we should make him play with like a really shitty controller because he's that good. But yeah. You should review the hardware. I have reviewed a couple of the hardware. Usually I do it on the podcast now, but I've done the VR stuff. The handhelds are a little difficult to review because personally, I feel that almost all handhelds, their reviews and the process is corrupt. And I don't want to step in right now. The ROG Ally, the situation with the ROG Ally is probably the worst situation I've ever been involved in when it comes to hardware. And that thing is trash. And I saw people who were telling me they had trash and then they did a review and said it was awesome.
There's a lot of... That's weird because I see a lot of refunds, like people refunding their...
Dude, Best Buy was telling me, they were like, dude, our refunds are like 80%. Like, it's ridiculous on this thing. It burns its own SD card, that reader, all these kind of problems. And, dude, I saw, it was like, we can give you a ROG Ally if you do one positive tweet. And I was just like, what the fuck are we in the middle of right now? So doing those kind of reviews aren't very fun for me, to be honest, because I don't even want to, what if I liked it? I don't even want to give them a kudo if I like it. Like, I'll do it in the podcast, but I feel bad. Ugh, it's gross. Josh, $10 super chat. Hey dudes, what are your thoughts on video game movies? Some are saying it will be the next in vogue genre for movies as superhero movies. Wayne, thanks for the podcast. That's a good question. Do you think so Doom came out. We had Doom. We had, what else have we had?
We had a lot of old ones.
We have a lot of old ones. Mario, of course.
Yeah.
Do you think games could, I mean, we get TV shows, so.
TV shows is the thing, right? TV shows I think TV shows are the thing. I see a lot of them also moving towards TV shows. I mean, a lot of high production stuff is just like moving to TV shows. TV shows are bigger than movies at this point, so I feel like that's where they want to go. But I don't know. That'd be interesting. I mean,
chat. What do you guys think?
Not a lot of them are good. Like most of them are bad, right? Most crossover movie, TV, Halo, and a bunch of others. I mean, Last of Us was one of the that was liked by a lot, right?
Yeah, and Fallout looks to be good. The reason why I'm a little worried about TV shows is because the cost of a TV show, a single season, is about 3 times the cost of a AAA movie. Yep. So I would rather see Amazon, if it's going to be Amazon, release a movie and spend that money on the movie and then take it to their streaming versus a TV show sometimes. And I think some games, TV show, I thought the Halo TV show was awesome. Not this last one.
The web series.
Sorry.
The web series.
Yeah, the web series.
That one was good.
That one was good. Until Dawn.
Yeah. And when Master Chief comes in, and you're like, damn.
That shit was awesome. And they showed it, and this is why I think it worked for a lot of people. It was a little bit like ODST, where it showed the normal people. The people who are, like Master Chief shows up and you're like, that guy's not going to die.
Dude, what a fumble to fucking have him take off the helmet. What a fumble.
He had sex,
it worked
didn't he?
So much better. Yeah. It worked so much better when he was like this, we heard about Master. He's like this, kind of hero where you don't really know who he is. And he just jumps out of nowhere and kills all these people. It worked way better than just him having sex and he's just some dude,
I'm pretty sure the director of that show stated he purposely didn't watch or play Halo. Dude, there was some brain dead ass discussions and ideas around the Halo series. So that's just me. Let's see. Fantasticals, $10 super chat. I get increasingly frustrated with the negativity surrounding Starfield. It reached the point where it kills my enjoyment of the game. When have gamers become such miserable MFers?
Yeah. I hate gamers. I'm sorry. I love you all. I'm just gonna. You got everyone in the chat. I love you all, but all the other gamers, I hate.
Yeah,
including myself. I'm just kidding.
But, yeah. Well, you vacillate. I was talking about that yesterday in the chat. I was like, the one thing I've noticed about you is about every 6 months you go, or it could possibly be Cyberpunk that I'm remembering, but you go like, oh my God, what the fuck? And then you go towards like right now where you're like, yes, we get it. It's bad. It's almost like you have a battery that I notice gets filled up. And when it gets, you personally, I've noticed that you have a tendency about every 6 months, maybe every year, because time goes weird for me, where for a while you're more critical. And it could have been Cyberpunk that caused that. But I also noticed you were positive.
Star Wars.
And super critical Star Wars and others. But then I noticed, like in the last 6 months, when somebody mentions something, you're like, yeah, we get it. We know. Like, why are we all bitching? Like, we know. And I notice your battery gets like topped off. And that's when I know you're going to sort of switch gears. And then that battery will get filled up. And I think we all do it, by the way. Like, I'm just saying I know you. So I watch.
I'm just super burnt out of negativity.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, you're right. Like every once in a while, I like especially when I think what bugged me most with maybe like Star Wars is that I hate it when reviewers misrepresent shit. You know what I mean? Like misrepresent stuff too. I don't know. That's I think that bugs me more than anything. But yeah, I was just like lately, I'm just like super burnt out of people just focusing on like negativity with every game and focusing on what's not in the game. You know what I mean? And I've just been trying to like be more positive, even with games I don't like. I realize that like when someone says like, "Hey, I really like this game. I love this game," or "I think this is the best ever game in the world," or whatever. I don't attack it, and I just go like, "Oh, that's awesome that you're enjoying this shit." You know what I mean? Like I enjoyed this for that and that. And I just want less negativity in the gaming world, dude. Yeah.
I think, especially with negativity, what happens is if it's cloying, it starts to bother me. If it's once or twice, I'm fine. But when it gets, so I just saw, I can't remember who it was, but it was just yesterday or the day before. I saw 2 or 3, articles from different websites saying Todd Howard said I would be playing Starfield forever, but I've already put it down. And I'm like, well, I put Skyrim down right away, like within a month. I played a bunch of Skyrim, and then I put it down.
Actually means like forever, right? Like for the rest of your life.
And then I saw somebody else who they were doing the main character thing. A lot of people think they're the main character in the world, and they're not. They're not even an NPC. They're like the third citizen in Starfield with a bad face. Most people are that. And they posted an article that was like, I am done with, I'm no longer playing Starfield. Like it mattered if they were. And what was funny is it'll feed that, but at some point you're looking at it going like, well, who gives a shit if you are?
It's because they're still cashing in on the.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why negativity is working, because they're cashing in on that. Last Friday when I was talking about doing, I don't remember if I talked about it in the last Friday podcast, but I did the SEO looking for. Oh no, I didn't, because I have it as a title here: fear mongering. So I accidentally signed into Firefox without a profile, no YouTube profile, it was just a incognito, I guess. And I admit you guys all see this, so somebody's going to get mad. But one of the things I noticed was I did a little SEO. I did a bunch of data. Sometimes I get into, I know you do this where you start getting into hacking something or deep into a program, and that's what you're working on for a week. Mine was data processing and looking at data. One of the things I checked was in the last year, the top 50 reviews for a game have negative connotations in the title or the description, even if the game review is positive. And that blew my mind. Now, I know other people seen that. You see the before you buy, oh, watch out. The clickbait thumbnail. You're like, yeah, we get it. Edgy.
Yeah.
But what I was noticing is even the positive reviews, like, this is the brutal blah, blah, blah. This is the sarcastic brutal blah, blah, blah. Or the cynical or the what. And you just, review. You start looking at it. You're like, oh, wow. But they like it. But their purpose, the only way to get grab is to purposely, I don't, you shouldn't, even by sense. The way, I saw one that was positive. It said, you shouldn't play Assassin's Creed Mirage until ... And I went in and no lie, to starting the video said, until you watch this video. And I was like,
oh no, dude.
whoa, we're fucked.
That's when I dislike a video. I don't usually dislike a video, but that's when I do it.
And I know everybody else has seen the negativity. Yeah. What I'm saying is that when I did the data, I noticed that about a year ago it dropped dramatically. It started about a year ago, and it even didn't really continue through CDPR's Cyberpunk thing. And I think a lot of that was because if a reviewer said it was good and then everybody was against them, they're not going to post another video because they're just going to get destroyed. And I think that in the last year, maybe coming out of COVID, what have you, but I've noticed that, and I was looking, and the numbers were astronomical. It was like all positive reviews or many still had some kind of negative connotation either in the title or the description or their comment, their pinned comment. And I was like, okay, that's, and I get why everybody sort of gets negative now, because that's, even the positive is negative. You can't, and we've had that in the Discord. I like this. Well, it's okay. And you're like, okay, Jesus Christ, man. You know, and I've done it. I've done it.
Actually.
Actually, I've absolutely tried to stop. It pops up sometimes when I see people like going, this might be the best thing that's ever been created.
I did it with Star Wars.
Star Wars Survivor.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor. When anyone would talk about liking it, I was like, okay, this is such shit game design. I was like, trash combat. Why did they have to make it a Souls like? Why are you liking it? You know, I went through that. I was just super mad. I was super mad about it, and it happens. But one thing I wanted to mention, like, we were talking about like cashing in on negativity or even positivity. Like even we saw with BG3, like everyone cashed in like why it's so good, why it's so good, why it's so good, why it's so good. Everyone cashed in on developers said it's an anomaly. Developers said it's an anomaly. And weirdly enough, in those videos, they were talking about how, can devs not release complete games, when that's not what they meant.
That's not what they meant at all.
Like, they cash in on a lot of trends online, and the most blatant example of that, like right then and there, was the 2020, like when Cyberpunk first released, and everyone was cashing in on the positivity. The only one, I think GameSpot rated it like a 6 out of 10, and it got crushed because that was the trend, right? The trend was like everyone has to love Cyberpunk,
and then it flipped.
And then when they realized that everyone was hating on it because it was like buggy as fuck and all that stuff, everyone flipped, dude. Everyone went from like positive to like complete negative. They rewrote their reviews. They were like, this is a re-upload. Actually, the game is not a 10 out of 10. It's bad.
I know. I saw rewritten
like, what the fuck
reviews.
Is going on? You know, that was like the blatant one. And I see a lot of people and a lot of streamers, like they just go with the trend, and it makes sense. But like they I feel like you just you can reviewers, if you're calling yourself a reviewer, it's like that. You need to be outside of that trend. You're not there to like cash in on the trend and make content. You're there to like inform people.
Dude,
that's what I think it's like morally.
I was telling you, I absolutely feel like at times people wait to see what the reviews are to post a review. I absolutely feel like there's certain entities that wait to see the overall score and then decide, does the SEO make sense for me to go contrarian or agree, and see how it works. But what happens then is that, you get that unfortunate feedback into the fans who, and I've done it, where a fan is not looking at it in the same way, or may not be. Now, with Cyberpunk, 99% of people who are fans, it may have taken a little bit of time, but they're like, okay, like, I do get it. But I do notice that, the regurgitation, and I was talking about the replay community being monetized by Sony, but what I noticed also was that people were revisiting Starfield to say, like, to tell you what they were doing a month later because they wanted that to trigger the algorithm. And you were just like, wow. So like they're double downing on it, and sometimes even switching. I've changed my mind on. And you're like, you've changed your mind. Didn't you play it for 40 hours? And I saw people doing that. And I'm like, if you're saying don't get, buy, don't buy, 10 out of 10, what have you. But one thing I was pointing out was here's what's weird right now. It feels like the entire game industry has gone from a 1 to 5 score to a 1 to 10 score, but only uses even numbers. And so we still have 5 scores. But they can now use the egregious words, the terrible, disappoint, unacceptable, or amazing. But instead of having 10 discrete levels of review score, or even, by the way, discussion does this, not even review scores. But instead of having 10 levels of discrete discussion, they just do the even numbers. And so you still have 1 to 5. It's so weird, man. And that does suck, because I feel like some people may not play a game that is in the 7 to 9 range, maybe, because they're only waiting for the old 9.5 Zeldas, and you're like, dude, you're missing out on, you know, some pretty sweet games out there. It's a little disconcerting to see, and it has made me wonder if people are going to get tired of it. I don't know if they will, but I mean, at some point, we talk about it. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm not even opening Twitter. Like and
the thing is, like it's okay to not like a game,
right?
Like it's okay to not like Starfield. There's so many issues, and it's okay to like just for it not to be your game, and it's okay to like post content about it, being like, this is why I don't like Starfield, right? But when you're just beating the dead horse over and over again for like months on end, it's like, okay, you're just going hard, dude. You're just going with it. You know what I mean? And it's obviously like we see, you know, that you talked about like either amazing or terrible. We see that with, it's the worst idea to give users a review score ability.
I know,
because people are either going to vote 10 or 0. You're rarely going to see like
user scores. We need to figure something out with user scores, because like you know, there is there's some, I mean, I love the idea of, obviously a consumer should have feedback. It makes total sense, like Yelp,
for sure.
But we've seen it with Yelp. It was misused with Yelp, where companies were going out of business because people would just lie. Like, I still remember one of the best Yelp reviews was a 1, and it was like, I went there, the person was rude, blah blah blah, and they were like, we were closed that day. And you're like, oh, fuck, because that person's Yelp was connected to their face. Like, everybody called them out, and they were like, dude, you are the worst. You tried to put a business, like, out of business because for whatever reason, you just chose that day to talk because you feel like you now have influence. I love the idea of of user scores. I just don't know how it's done correctly, where it isn't it isn't vastly like disproportionate to what. It's very difficult to say a game. I've talked about this in reviews where I'm like, it's sort of a wait for a deep sale. It's sort of a wait for a sale. You have to really have a lot of context, because otherwise it's really hard to do. Where the middle ground is hard. It is hard because you'd be like, do I sound stupid for liking this? I don't think that. I'm saying user reviews. I'm sure. You know, what if I put a 7 and I recommend it? What does that mean? Like, I don't know. I don't think we can get out of it.
Nuance is a thing that I feel like either it's difficult or people just seem to not have it online. And it's not just gaming, by the way. It is not just gaming. Yeah, let's make that clear. Politics and everything, right? Like people tend to just like take the hard routes, right? It's like this side or that side, you know. You barely see like nuanced discussions about things where it's like, well, you can like this but not like this, you can support this but not support that, right? It's just people have to take hard stances. Like, even you got, I don't want to I was gonna change it to politics, but you'll see people where it's like, if someone has like nuance about something, they'll be like, you're a class traitor, you know what I mean? With a certain group of people. but yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. People love to take like hard stances and sides and go.
What is a game what is the worst scored game that you loved?
The worst score. So I loved Atomic Heart, but it got a 7, which is like pretty bad now in this day and age.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, right.
Lord of the Rings Conquest at the time was at a 6 out of 10, I think, by GameSpot and a few others. It was like 5 or 6 out of 10, and back then 5 or 6 out of 10 is basically a 7.5 right now, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back then it wasn't as like, it wasn't inflated or whatever, and I loved the shit out of that game. It was like, because I loved Star Wars Battlefront, and it was basically that but Lord of the Rings, and it was just like a fun ass time. Play as a Nazgul, play as like the Mouth of Sauron, play as Gandalf, play as like a random mage and the orcs, you know what I mean? So that's probably. What about yours?
Anybody in chat, what's the worst scored game that you loved? For me, it would probably be State of Decay 2.
Was it badly scored?
It was middling scored. I mean, some people hated Zelda, so I sort of look at it as like what I heard from friends as well as some scores, but it's more just along the lines of like what the overall trend was of if it had a lot of issues, which it did, but those issues didn't stop me from finding it an absolute blast and still playing it. So, but I would say I don't really. For example, the reason why I didn't know about the negativity stuff is since I review, I don't look at other reviews very often because I'm going to the next game. So it's like, here's my thoughts. Boom, I'm going on the next game. And I don't even look too much at comments unless like one pops up or somebody tells me about one. So, but with State of Decay 2, I heard it from friends. They're like, I'm having a lot of problems on this game. or they played with me and they had problems. Like, you get into multiplayer. I also loved The Ascent. The Ascent scored higher, but it had a lot of co-op problems that even people on our Discord ran it, right? People.
Yeah, me too.
So you hear those things and you sort of parse them. But I would say that was one of the ones that, while I not loved it, I really liked it. It was missing some things from one, but there was enough issues that I can certainly, like, when I look at that, I'm like, that was probably one of the games that I liked a lot, where a lot of people were just like, I can't get in, I can't really get into it and play it because it was a lot of technical issues.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
I
just don't know if somebody's going to have a technical issue.
Yeah. I have a slight tangent, a little bit, tiny bit. State of Decay 2, what would you like to see improved in State of Decay 3? What would you like to see changed or improved?
The fatalistic feel that you had in 1 is not in 2. And 1 patched it out because they're wussies. I want it so that it simulates real world, so when I log back in, a guy can be dead. And they patched it
AI
out.
life type shit.
Yeah. There is no other game that captured at 12 FPS. The original State of Decay ran like shit.
Yeah.
Like shit. It was a terrifyingly bad FPS game, or in its FPS. And I could not tell you how many times I woke up in the morning logging in just to see if somebody died, or was somebody in trouble. Did somebody need my help? I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I want that fate. I love that idea. I love it. And so many people are like, we had that time. It's gone away now, mostly. But remember the time where somebody's like, I want to play an RPG and get every choice in one game playthrough. And you're like, dude, what? Like, it wouldn't even...
What's the point of the choice?
Right. It doesn't even feel right. In normal life, in video games and D&D, that doesn't happen. And for a while, that was winning out. Yeah. And people were so mad. They were like, I logged in and my favorite guy was dead. And I'm like, bitch, that's life in a zombie world.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
to
great.
me.
XCOM, dude. You craft this guy. He's been with you through thick and thin and he dies. It's like a
I
cool
remember
feeling.
I had all you guys. I had Total Biscuit. I had Skilled Media. He's been on the podcast a bunch of times. He no longer does reviews. I had him on, and I had all them in my XCOM team.
Yeah.
And I was teasing people, going like, dude, you guy can't hit. We're shit. Like, it's you. Yeah. And I would blame him. I'd be like, dude, I named him you. I gave him skills. Can't hit shit. And he would die. And you'd be like, well, Absy's dead. Takedown's dead. Reg is dead. And you got a team of all these Joe Bob second stringers coming in. And it felt so good to be like,
That's my... Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's all right. That's where I was ending, but go for it. What were you gonna say? It feels so good.
I was just very excited because like that's something I always advise people to do, whether you're playing Darkest Dungeon or you're playing War Tales or you're playing XCOM, any of these games, you just rename the guys. Once you get a guy, just rename him to anything. You're a friend, person you know in real life, something you just think of, you know what I mean? Anything. And once you just do that, once you give them a name that you made, boom, like that's like a personality there that you recognize.
Yes,
it's an entity,
man.
exactly.
Yeah, it feels so
and then
good.
When you lose it, there's this emotion there which is delivered through just emergent gameplay, and I feel like that's fucking cool as shit, man.
I remember logging in, somebody was dead, but somebody else was in trouble, and I'm telling you, it was straight up not Ocean's 11. It was like a Navy SEAL team where I was like, let's get together. Let's get our weapons. We got to go save this motherfucker. He's in the hay bales. And it was just like, and saving them felt like no quest could ever be written, because I knew the quest would be written. The organic gameplay of State of Decay 1, when it happened, and I was like, that happened. We got to go. And you're trudging across, some shitty field and bad guys are chasing you. You find the guy who's hurt, or two people have had an argument and one has gone off in a car and you got to chase them down. Nothing excites me more than that kind of gameplay. It's my favorite. That's why I think I do like a lot of open worlds, because I do like coming in on something, seeing people argue in like Red Dead or whatever. And you're like, ooh, what's, is that going to turn into something, or is it just people argue? I love that feel. It's sexy,
anything
man.
Can happen.
Yes, and maybe it's randomized, so maybe they'll argue, maybe they won't. There's that feeling of I may be having an experience that is still within the framework everybody else exists in, but it's just my meat. No one else. And I love Witcher 3, but everything is very amazing quests. But it's like
it's structured. It's like it's not emergent.
Right. If I tell you what the guy said, he said the same thing in the same place to everybody. But Legion, it's why I love playing Legion, because it's not the greatest game in the world, but the organic gameplay of having this dumpy secretary being your super spy and kicking everybody's ass it's legit. It's amazing. It feels so good to do.
Yeah.
Baseball Gear, $20 super chat. Hope both of you are doing well. I've been loving the bi-weekly podcast. Thank you very much. Again, the super chats help. You guys can become members of the YouTube channel as well, and that allows for Discord access too. Six Blade Kojiro, $2 super chat. Our games are becoming too easy. I think they are too easy. Too easy.
I think I see an angle to this statement. I think I see one angle to this statement. If he means like over time games are becoming too easy, I think that an angle there, forgetting Dark Souls and stuff and like just difficulty in games, maybe there's a lot more quality of life now, and sometimes they can go too far with it where they're just like hand-holdy. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
He might also, and I'm just putting words in his mouth, he may also be talking about what did pop up with Cyberpunk 2.0. Which is that the difficulty I felt dropped a good
Power Fantasy,
at least one click from what it was. And that's because you were better than you ever were prior to 2.0. And you could do more things. And I definitely felt that Cyberpunk felt easier. And I'm just saying that because it just popped up. Yeah, it's certainly changed from the cumbersome thing that it was to whatever. And like you said, a lot of it is quality of life, where I even found this with Mirage. They don't even know how to do quality of life in some games, because in Mirage, if you turn everything off, you quite literally sometimes can't interact with something. Yeah. It's like, I get their idea. It's great. You can turn everything off. But if your developers need to go, oh, he can't hit the A button right now. We got to figure, we have to figure something out.
Or even like have stuff in the game world that like guides you places rather than looking at the map or something.
The Wind
like
in Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, like it's cool to have options, but like something that supports the option. Like for example, being able to turn off health in a game. Maybe the dude starts grunting, or like there's some other thing that's just explaining.
Yeah, you need or really good animation to show you're hurt. Like your guy limps and he limps worse if he's. I mean, developers are getting better at it, but I would say I don't know if they're getting. There's too many games. I just don't see how I could say if they're getting easier.
Ones and not difficult ones, and you play something like Elden Ring, they're not holding your hand at all, or they're not holding back. There's stuff all around.
And I think
it's difficult.
One thing people get, the difference between difficulty and accessibility is accessibility allows you in, but in no way, shape, or form adjusts the difficulty of something. Difficulty is difficulty. So I just mean the terms. Accessibility literally means like ability to enter, ability to access. It does not mean a perfect experience when you do so. Right. And so I do think that we do get some games where they mistake them, and somebody thinks access needs to be easy. And as somebody who has disabled friends, most of them do not want it easier. They have no issue with whatever difficulty is in the game. What they do have an issue with is something that is pretty big, like color blindness, which is not necessarily a small defect. I mean, there's a lot of people with color blindness, so it's like that makes sense to put it in. Forza,
like access.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Like accessibility is just supposed to allow those people to play at the same level of everyone else, right?
And the same, the ability to interact in the same way, which is why I love the accessibility controllers, because it's like, especially Microsoft. Sony's is great too, but Microsoft's has all the, you can get all these additions and changes, and it's good because somebody, like I know people with a missing arm, that's different than, let's say, the inability to use it as well, but still use it, versus somebody who has no arms and needs to use something. And feet, we've seen the type of, where you can get the USB foot pedal. I love that idea. By the way, if I was really like into it, I'd buy one of those and use it myself, like a foot one, reload. No, I'm saying like reload or something, where if you don't want to use the middle button or something, you could use your feet for things. Like,
you don't have to take your thumb off.
On a gamepad, dude, that would like probably work out. But
speaking of difficulty, I really hope, and I want to see difficulty change from this like fucking health and damage bullshit to enemy count, enemy aggression, and like more better AI. I really wanted to go there, and some games do that. Like I think Devil May Cry kind of does that, but I just don't. It's so boring when it's like, enemies are just more spongy now, and you're
and it
less,
feels like crap when you hit a guy with a 9mm 50 times in the face and he doesn't die because their idea of difficulty is just soaking the bullets. Just Yeah, I hate that.
So bad. I want it to go other places.
Oh, so do I. I think everybody does. I think that's one thing is Spongy is a thing. We hear it all the time, so that's cool. The language has popped up, so the more it is, the more developers look. Jay Reaper, $2 super chat. Best way to access Discord. Most likely being a patron is the best way. It's $5. That's usually the best way to do it. Karak Sasquatch foot. Oh, you tease me about my Bigfoot story? Come on, man. Don't tease me about that. Don't hurt me. Or games because... Oh, no, we read that one. I'm reading the super chats. A lot of people are saying the Callisto... I don't know if you saw that. Callisto Protocol devs. Sounds like they're shutting down or something.
Yeah, that sounds... I didn't see it, but that's not... I think that is going to happen, yeah. I saw it's free on... It came with the new... I think it's the PS Plus monthly thing. This month is they're giving away that game. Yeah.
And then did you see that Paradox wrote off all of Lamplighters' $22 million loss? That sucks.
Lamplighters failed that hard, man. It's on Game Pass now.
Yeah. Dude, Lamplighters, if the tech stuff was fixed, would be a competent B+ game. But the tech issues just... like, you can't really release... Hairbrained has issues, man. Dude, I like Hairbrained, but they've done Shadowruns. They did the remakes of Shadowruns, which had some issues. I believe they also did BattleTech. I could be wrong on that, but I think they did BattleTech, right? Not MechWarrior, right? BattleTech. They did BattleTech. Yeah. And they have some issues with tech, and I don't know what it is. And Paradox must not have...
BattleTech also released with BattleTech. No pun intended. Right?
Yeah, it had some issues. Especially with Lamplighters, the idea and the fiction is awesome. Like it's like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Mummy. Yeah, it's like turn of the century kind of, steampunk mixed in with adventure movies.
A full-on RPG.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on in that one.
Cool.
What's your favorite XCOM ripoff? Can't be XCOM.
Favorite XCOM can't be XCOM.
Yeah, can't be XCOM.
I don't know. I recently got War Tales, and it's very, very enjoyable, but I can't make like a War Tales. It's a cool thing where it's like a fantasy XCOM kind of thing where you just start you kind of choose a backstory and stuff, and you're literally just a group of mercs, and you're just plopped in this world, and you go around and just try to make money. You know what I mean? Just be mercs. War
Tales. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and there's a lot of cool difficulty options, like very, very cool difficulty options, and then like Iron Man mode and stuff like that. War Tales is a good one. Another one, I haven't... XCOM 2, man, it's hard to beat that.
War the Chosen,
of course. Yeah. When you say XCOM 2,
when you say XCOM 2, you never mean XCOM 2. Sorry if anybody thinks that, you're wrong. War of the Chosen.
Mario Rabbids.
Yeah. I just saw John say that in the chat, and I was like,
saw it. Yeah. That's probably my favorite one outside of it.
Mind blowing how good that is, man.
Oh, if you count Wasteland 3, obviously it'd be Wasteland 3 because that is
Wasteland 3's got a lot of really cool stuff you can do.
Yeah, that's way more than an XCOM clone, right? That's like full
Hush Al Ghul, $2 super chat. Does Mario Rabbids count? Yes, it does. Yeah, Mario Rabbids is an XCOM. Sure. It's just that they did movement as their weapon, which was like...
Yeah, that was amazing. And the animations and shit, man.
Oh my God, yeah. And 2 like sold like 12 copies, and it is an awesome game.
I didn't play 2 yet, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Dude, those games, man.
Yeah.
Rabbids, I hate. I don't even like them in Ubisoft. I'm like, these are stupid characters. I'm not a Mario fan, and it doesn't... Like, I knew more about Mario after 1 hour of Rabbids because of the moves and shit he could do than I ever learned after beating multiple Mario games. Yeah, he lands with his butt. What the hell? No, I knew that. Looking here, looks like War Tales is cool. This is Deacon Fuse says he likes War Tales. David says, would you count Wasteland 3? Yes. Yeah, I mean,
would you?
Yeah, Wasteland 3 is just more story, but it's for sure. And I mean, it's a turn. I mean,
it's CRPG, like a full-on turn-based CRPG. You know?
Right.
Like I had XCOM combat.
But right. And I'm thinking, where do you penalize one game and say you're too good to be in the discussion? Because you would be doing that with Wasteland. Because
it's like more than an XCOM clone. Like
I know.
Wasteland. It's been a thing for a while, you know.
But it's a Wasteland clone with a bunch of role playing, and I have no issue putting that in the same group. I mean,
Interesting.
Okay, so
to me, it's just
can
like
you
a
change
CR, like a
would you
turn-based...
change your answer then if I said like Baldur's Gate's in there?
Really?
If I
so
I'm
any
saying if
turn-based game?
if we just said turn-based as a whole, ignoring the XCOM thing, now we're saying
Jesus.
turn-based. Is
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate your fave?
No, Pillars of it. Oh no, that's real time with pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Baldur's Gate 3 would be the obvious choice there. What's another? Man, you know, turn-based games need to do something special to really like fucking grab me. You know what I mean? Like if you're not counting like, I don't really enjoy the normal classic JRPG turn-based. Like I find it kind of samey, you know, like you just have to spam attack until you get to a boss and then actually use abilities, and then the boss half the time couldn't be stunned or anything, so like your abilities don't matter anyway. But anyways, yeah, turn-based in general, man. I think Baldur's Gate 3 has a lot of cool interaction with the environment and a lot of cool shit you can do. Pillars would be my fave, but that's real time with pause. Yeah, I guess Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah.
Guess what mine is?
What?
War of the Chosen. If we're now adding this wider and just saying any of the games.
Adding XCOM too now.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, War of the Chosen.
Yeah. I legitimately love Baldur's Gate, but I'm one and done with Baldur's Gate, and I have no issue with that. I had a classic time with it, and any choice I made in Baldur's Gate would be a secondary or tertiary choice. I've made my choices in that game. I will probably never return to it, and it was fantastic. And the replayability, it doesn't outweigh going through some of the battles I know will pop up that I probably won't love. But with XCOM, I can go through the same battle. I don't know what it is about XCOM. Maybe sci-fi, because I'm a sci-fi fan. It could just be sci-fi. But I love... Dude. Man. War of the Chosen is... It's unbelievable. It's it's everything I've ever wanted from one of those games, without, other than the 99% chance to hit and missing. But it's just, I bought into that more than I bought into Baldur's Gate. Maybe the less RPG is why I bought into XCOM.
But plus, like, even though it's less RPG, I think every campaign is gonna be different, and because it's kind of random, it has an element of randomness in it, right?
It feels, both of those feel so good. It's just amazing that we're talking about Baldur's Gate and it's out.
Insane mods.
Yeah, it's nuts to see those. Shining Force 3. Ooh, that's Sega Master System, right? Shining Force, or was that Sega Saturn? Shining Force. Those were good games too. All the Phantasy Star was also good. If we're talking turn-based, the last South Park games were fire. They were good.
Those were great.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
they were, dude. Yeah, they were. They surprised me because I'm not a South Park fan. I'm more of a Simpsons, a little older, so I grew up on Simpsons. Dude, South Park as a turn-based game is fucking good. Like puke instead of fire. You know what I mean? Like they adjusted the elements in their
D&D,
goofy way.
right?
Yes. Because the second one was great, but I didn't like it as much as the first. The first was like sexy. I'm so tired of normalized walk. Oh, somebody's talking about something else.
I really hope, speaking of turn-based games, man, Rogue Trader is coming out in December. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. That would be a contender. That's going to be like XCOM kind of gameplay. You're going to be space pirates. And you know, Owlcat loves their crazy choices. And dude, nobody's talking about this, but I guess because like BG3 is like very AAA, right? And obviously it's amazing and everything's mocapped and like you have a lot of choices. But like being evil in what was it, Pathfinder, is way more fleshed out than being evil in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
it has a way more like significant path to take that's like more rewarding in a way.
I think it's also, if you look at scale, Baldur's Gate's quite small. It's like two or three places you go through your acts, and it's sort of, even though it's a big big situation.
There's a lot of content though.
Yeah,
but
Pillars is a big deal in the world. The world it's a big deal. Like
even though it's smaller hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of the questions I was going to ask. So this popped up a little bit. We were talking. So I don't know if you guys saw this. It just blows my mind, man. I can't even believe I have to talk. I almost don't want to talk about this, because I'm sure somebody in chat is going to argue with me. And there's few times where I truly believe the argument doesn't make sense. But this is one. So I'm going to color the entire conversation and piss people off. I was on Twitter, and a person from a massive company stated that there are so many games out currently that there is no reason for them to buy or play any game that isn't on Steam, and that developers just need to deal with it.
Wait, what? What does that mean?
Epic, Xbox, blah, blah, blah. Any other store but Steam. So, of course, I responded to Remedy, because they're on Epic, and I said, Remedy, you lost a sale. We got back and forth on this, and people were like, oh, well, your friends are on Steam, blah, blah, blah. And I was just sitting there looking at this gating that was going on. Because to me, it's a shortcut. I click it, game runs. I'm not sitting for hours. It's almost like when somebody tells me their boot time is really fast, and then I ask them how many times they fucking boot, and they say once a month.
I don't give a fuck about launchers.
I'm just like, dude, what are we talking about? They were talking about this launchers, and the audacity to tell developers they just need to get past Steam's 30% that they take. Steam takes a larger amount from every game than any other platform, or was, last time I looked. Epic pays many developers enough to actually help them develop their game. By the way, I'm not fighting for Epic. I fucking hate Epic.
It's a shit store, by the way, but yeah, no, yeah. I get your point.
Itch.io. Itch.io is one of the greatest places to release a small game.
Or then, assets or anything.
Listen to this. So I said, Alan Wake, man. So you're saying you wouldn't support the Remedy devs? And they said, no, I'll buy it on Xbox. And I said, you do realize that's a store, right?
Outside of Steam. Yeah.
And it was the audacity. This is the first time ever on Twitch, I finally used the mute conversation button. I've never used it before because I've never used it, but I muted the conversation because I was so disappointed of all the real things that matter. The real things in gaming, the real problems, people being laid off, blah, 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 to have the audacity. That is so, it was disappointing because I actually would say I know the person. And to see that was that shocking moment where you tell people to just move on. And I was like, wow, 30%.
That just doesn't make sense to me though, right?
Dude.
Like it doesn't make sense to me where it's like, you're gonna lose sale, but like if you're interested in a game, actually I don't know at this point because I do have a friend that if any game comes out on like Epic Games Launcher, it's like I like kind of boycotting Epic Games Launcher in a way. But to me, it's just playing the game. Like I'm spending time playing the game. I'm buying the game because I want to play the game, right? It's about the game. It's about me. It's about me playing the game. So that just doesn't like I don't give a fuck. Like sometimes it could be cumbersome when you like, for example, open a game on Steam and then it opens up Ubisoft launcher and that opens up the fucking Bethesda launcher and that opens up the Rockstar launcher and then it opens up. Like, I get that can be cumbersome, but at the end of the day, I really don't give a fuck. Even if that does happen, because that's like 10-20 seconds extra before I play the game for like 4 hours at a time or something. So like I really, if I want to buy a game, I'm gonna buy the game. You know what I mean?
It was depressing, man. It was like I rarely let that stuff affect me. And as Ron 25 super chat from Wannabe Dev, it's going to be bad when it starts with I was on Twitter. It's true.
That's true.
That's true. But this is not moralizing that they were saying they're banning Epic because it was Chinese have invested in it and they don't like hacking. It wasn't any of that. It was just they were unable to handle a 20-second cumbersome starting, which, by the way, I have Steam and I like Steam somewhat. Steam's got a lot of issues of its own. I had somebody say, well, Epic will pop up a thing. But it does have like
good features for sure.
And I'm like, it does. But I don't play Steam.
Right.
And I am not ever going to stop a little bit of cumbersomeness from stopping me as a person from enjoying 60 hours. And certainly not going to moralize it to everybody else saying, you guys all need to just fucking change. Like, you just need to pass money. I know that people don't like those kind of things, but when you look at one that pays for you to be there and one that removes a good chunk of your sales, there is a lot of people, and I had a developer who is doing exclusive on Epic, and they were like, dude, we wouldn't even be able to make like 40% of the best, most cherished parts the public is excited for if we did it on Itch or on, what is the other one, Good Old Games? Good Old Game. They have the Galaxy or whatever. They have their own store. It's embarrassing, man. It's like, are we that feeble as a society? We're so feeble we can't click along. Like, we're gonna starve to death. You can't
I'm
crack
gonna
an
take
egg.
the other route. Remember when we were saying like it's either 0 or the 100? I'm gonna take the 100 and be like, you know, I'm fucking glad. I love Remedy, and I'm glad they're only on the Epic Games Launcher, because I'm gonna 100% of my money is gonna go to them. All right, fuck you guys. I want Remedy to have all my money. I'm gonna support them on Epic. But no, like it's kind of odd because there's like kind of like an intersect. There's like a weird thing where people want to support the devs, right? And but at the same time, big company Epic bad. They're trying to get all these exclusives, so it's terrible. But at the same time, wouldn't you be more supportive of the dev, since Epic is giving them what is it, 100% now until like it reaches like a thing? It's just a weird thing. I don't
it's
really
so
know.
crazy because
I
like,
hate the store, by the way. I think the store is trash. I think Epic Game Store is like very, very bad, very trash. But still, like that.
Well, I mean, Steam search doesn't even work. So like, where are we going with this? We can always point out that Steam has its own, Steam corrupts downloads. We're in our Discord. You see it all the time. I had to verify files in Steam because it fucked up happens. Unpacking takes 25 hours to unpack a game.
Me.
Here's the problem.
The fucks me. Yeah.
This itemization of cumbersomeness, all it does is prove that people can't figure something out, and then it makes everybody look like really bad. And I get it's a PC, so you've chosen a PC, which is more customizable anyway, and you're telling me that you can't click the link. And this is not like, oh, it doesn't run. This is just everybody needs to switch for me. And it was just, it was one of those times where I was like, wow, we're there. We're there. Crack my egg for me, make my omelet, because I'm unable to crack the cracking this egg is cumbersome. And you're just like, all right, well, guess what? You're going to starve to death. Like it's so, dude, the audacity to say that was, fuck, man. I'm just going to move on because I'm just going to get mad. Shmeagle Czar 35 super chat. Hey, gents, just finished Callisto Protocol. It was free on the Callisto Protocol. It's just Frodo from Lord of the Dragons, or Lord of the Rings, not Lord of the Dragons. That would be an awesome movie. Did you know it was free? That Callisto Protocol was free? Oh, wow.
It's on PS Plus now, right? Monthly. So technically, I guess if you have a PS Plus subscription, you get it for free this month.
That's pretty interesting.
Is it free other what? Like, is it free in other places too? Like, can you just download it now?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's free on other stores. I don't know. He said he found it a bit boring.
Oh, yeah, free on the PS Store. Yeah. It's because this month it came out. Yeah. Found it a bit boring. What do you think of it? I haven't. I did also just grab it just so I can have it from the monthly thing because I'm ending my subscription. But I don't like what I saw of it at all. So I don't think I'm gonna play it. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna play it.
You know, it's funny. I didn't find it boring as much as technically pretty incompetent when it first released. Like, there was a lot of issues for this game that they were touting. And they were spending time doing interviews, talking about all their tech, and then they released it, and it's just, I mean, it had so many issues. Boring.
And the melee thing, right?
And yeah. But I don't know if I would consider it boring, but you know what? If you're not fighting the tech issues and everything is smooth, and you find it boring, I think that's a pretty legitimate complaint. I don't know if I would find it boring, but I guess I would, because I don't gravitate towards ever playing it again. So it certainly wasn't. Yeah, it's a good point. I get it. I get what you're saying about boring, but I'm not 100% sure a horror game where people are exploding and gibbed up into saws and stuff I would consider boring as much as maybe numb. You ever seen a horror movie that has too much horror? And you're like, it's not, you know, after the 40th dismemberment, you're sort of just chuckling to yourself, you know, because you're like, oh, this is, what's the movies? The Saw movies are like that, you know, or Hostel, where you're just like, whatever.
By the 10th one, it's like,
by the 10th one, you're like, all right, man. Now
what was the other one where people die in like the most mundane ways?
Final Destinations.
Final Destination.
Yeah. That first one with so I've been behind a semi when it lost a log and it hit a truck and it flipped the truck because a log is like thousands of pounds. So when I saw that movie the first time and that log comes through I actually did have that palpitation for some. I'm like, oh, that's actually sort of real. Like that kind of thing can happen. Let's see, what's everybody talking about? They're just talking about, using all things. People need to stop calling paid subscriptions free. LOL. You're literally paying 10, 20, 30 a month. Yeah, you could say that. So I'll say this. I'll agree with Jake. He says people need to stop calling subscription games
not
free.
Actually free.
No, it's about 0.0001 cent for that game. If you look at Game Pass and the number of games, if you factor in every game, it's not free, but the game is about 0.001 cent. Like,
yeah, it's like a stream, like a different type of thing. Yeah, like it's like someone saying like, oh, every time you buy this, you get this one for free, like this thing for free, where it's actually not free because it's part of the value, right, of the thing you paid for.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh yeah, you remember when they used to do consoles with like one game free or whatever? Well, you're actually just buying the console with the game.
Yep.
I guess.
It was so great though, dude.
Yeah, good times. Remember?
Oh man, pack-in games were the shit, man. And I remember I got the Sega Saturn. It had Virtual Fighter 1 that was low. It used Goriad shading, I think, and so it was flat textures. And then for free, they did mipmap textures later, and you got a disc. And if you registered your Saturn, about 6 months later, right around Christmas, I got Virtual Fighter with full texturing, and it was free. And then Christmas Nights was free, and I was just like, so good. Free games.
Dude, I bet you
were the juice. What were you saying?
Yeah, like I feel like a large majority of people who bought Wii's only ever played Wii Sports, which came free with it.
Yeah,
they just.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
See it in movies and shit. Yeah.
We got Sonic. I don't remember what SNES came with. I'm assuming one of the Marios, but
probably
the pack-in. Here's what was ridiculous, dude. The pack-ins were usually amazing games. That's what's even more stunning is now PS Slim and all this stuff. You're like, oh, I'm not getting anything. I got to buy this. I got to buy a stand, blah, blah, blah. But it's like back then when you bought something, the games were actually their premier games. Like Sega was known for their premier arcade titles being the free pack-in at times. And you're just like, this is amazing. Can you imagine if you bought, well,
remember Combat Evolved Halo? Got it with that.
That's what that's exactly what I was thinking as I was like trying to see what we do for like PS5 and Xbox now. There's a lot of, we see those now, but they're sold on their own.
What is their premiere? Like there's no more like,
there isn't.
Sony has a lot of exclusives. What would you say is like because like before it was like, oh, Nintendo Mario. What the fuck was PlayStation back? Crash. And then you got like Xbox Halo. You know what I mean? So
I think they're gone now. There's so many games that like for Xbox, you could say at times it would be Gears and Forza. Those are their two, like, and Halo Infinite could have been.
Gears and Halo. Oh,
the but I think those are like their premieres right now. And then Sony isn't, they've got all these second and third parties, so it's sort of difficult to like parse it. I don't know what I would consider. Like if Maybe Sony did a pack-in, probably be God of War. Yeah. That's true. War, No, you're right. I think God of War...
That would be my favorite, I
God
guess.
of War crunches all of PlayStation down into one game, I guess. It's you know what I mean? Even more than Aloy and Horizon or Spider-Man, I think God of War is like, yeah, that's true. God of War. God of War.
The channels of the essence,
Yeah. Astro Boy, Dual Sense game, Karak.
I heard PS5. Astro. People like the Astro Boy thing. It came with the PS5, like digital, like arcadey thing. But it wasn't like as big as like the old things.
Yeah, no, it was, dude, not as big as like getting a Sonic game or getting, Mario or something like that. So let's talk about DRM.
Oh shit. Oh fuck.
So I have a problem with easy anti-cheat.
Yeah, same.
More so than de novo, strangely enough. And I'm talking about my results, by the way. I'm talking about not morally. I'm saying my results with these. Easy anti-cheat is very difficult for me to get to run on my PC. And I don't know if it's like some DAW I have, Reaper from like 2 years. I don't know what it is, but I can run into some issues with that just crashing my game. Back 4 Blood was ridiculous getting that to work. De novo, I have, you always have that, does it lower a couple frames, blah, blah, blah. I don't really have too many problems with
really.
De novo. Yeah.
I looked into it.
Yeah,
very hard.
There's sort of like the people who want to not have DRM so Fit Girl can release their game to them. But do you have like, what are your thoughts on just DRM as a whole? Like,
so I'm the type of guy, man, like, okay, there's a lot of people that go, I don't like the government spying on me or whatever. I don't like that Facebook knows all my information. I don't like, there's a lot of things that are like kind of anti-consumer or whatever. Where people find it like morally wrong and just very uncomfortable with it, and I completely understand that. DRM is kind of the same way. It's like I don't have like the true ownership, you know what I mean? I bought this game. But I'm the type of guy that just kind of like, this is the state we're in. companies have to sometimes do these things. Sometimes they might be morally wrong, but like sometimes it's actual true security on, you know, people stealing their shit, because torrenting shit is really easy, cracking games is really easy, where I'm just I don't really have a hard stance, and I just go with the flow, and it's like, okay, if they have it, they have it. Now a lot of people made this argument that Denuvo actually decreases FPS by a large margin, and they don't. At best, there's like a maybe 1 FPS loss. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. There was one case where I think it was Resident Evil Village, where they were using their own kind of DRM and they implemented it poorly, and they announced, they said, hey, I'm sorry, we're sorry we implemented this poorly, because it was causing stuttering. But Denuvo doesn't really affect the game that much, and that's like, you can go look into it and look into evidence, but there's no hard proof that Denuvo actually, I mean, Assassin's Creed Mirage runs great, you know, I know a lot of people complained that they added it after the review copies, but I think it wasn't as much of like a very sus thing to do. I think it's just that they didn't worry about reviewers stealing their game, so it was just, okay, we're adding Denuvo before release because it's releasing. I think that it wasn't like a huge conspiracy.
You just hit a nail on the head that nobody wants to talk about, by the way. Well, I think I told you this last podcast, but there's some, I did tell you this, where there's some games where I won't open it for a couple days because I know it's going to leak from a reviewer. Like, I know they're going to leak some pictures and stuff, so I will purposely, like, say, I'm not going to use this code for 3 or 4 days. That way, if anybody starts checking, I can say, I didn't even have the code activated. And reviewers are definitely leaking them. Yeah. Streamers and reviewers, for sure. It's like, well, I mean, like, you could, like, yes.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, there's, well, I just mean no, I'm sorry. I mean the pictures, and, like, they will, you know, the data will get out and stuff like that. And it's just so companies have to look at that. Sorry, I didn't mean like Denuvo. Denuvo, the idea of adding it when it goes to retail, I'm assuming it was a worry that there might be an incompatibility. I haven't had one with Denuvo yet, but it doesn't mean I won't. What I don't like about DRM is just always online. Like, I can handle Denuvo. I can handle easy anti-cheat, but you don't think what is always online?
Denuvo. Denuvo, I don't think it affects anyone unless you're trying to torrent it, or like if you have like this moral compass where you don't like true ownership or something. I just don't think it's like a massive change to a game. Like, it doesn't really affect the end user.
And aren't there different levels of Denuvo? I'm pretty sure there's like different levels of checks, and some might be really heavy. I think Lords of the Fallen, the original, had Denuvo that was causing issues.
I guess so. There's like, you can implement shit badly. I think if you there's been some cases where games implement it really badly, where it checks like at every, like, for example, like 2 seconds or something, like really, really stupid. But I think that's just the developer's fault for implementing it badly.
Implement a low level one. It's interesting because of all the DRMs, the only one that I run into or that I would have issues with is always online for a game that just doesn't really need it. And that is a DRM, of course. You know, that's, you know, you see it and you're like, why is this online all the time? You know, and a lot of companies go back and remove it later, but we always know what that is. They're trying to outweigh that first 2 or 3 weeks where it's going to show up on torrents. And I was talking to a guy who did a somewhat indie game, and he was saying that there were more torrents than had bought the last 3 games of his. And he was like, yeah, sucks.
I mean, I get it, dude. Like, people don't want their shit being torrented, you know? But I don't know. I just don't think there's like very hard evidence. You know?
Yeah, and if there is, like I said, Lords of the Fallen, I think, had some weird high level checks, like you said. But Grumble
anything
says
can be implemented badly.
Yes, for sure. I mean, like you said, Resident Evil, they had done their own, and it had some weird issues. $5 super chat. Some people have a reason for Steam only. GeForce Now is Steam only. I think
Wait,
Mac
for
user...
Denuvo, do you have to be
No, it's not.
Online?
GeForce Now is not Steam only, just so you know. What? GeForce Now is Steam only. It is definitely not Steam only, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Do you have to be always online for Denuvo?
Nope.
Like to play a single... Oh, okay. Yeah, then...
Let's see. Making big changes after the review copies are out. Yeah, I think that was one of the ones where we saw it pop up with Mirage. There was another game that I remember that they put a DRM in after it went live, but I've been lucky.
I guess they do it sometimes.
Yeah. Yongyi provided the receipts that Denuvo lowers game performance. Oh, so Yongyi did it. I don't know if Yongyi is Yongyi an actual hardware tester?
I looked into it. It's implement. I don't think there's just no hard evidence that it like directly does it, other than like bad implementation of it.
Or do you think it's possible that just real quick, I just want to interrupt. Do you think it's?
It a lot,
I know multiple people have, and I've heard people like say there's no issues. Heard people say there is, but I was wondering, is it also possible that whatever they're offsetting onto other threads or Denuvo doesn't affect a great number of people unless like they have performance cores from Intel, or they have lesser cores, or that it is affecting them at a low frame rate versus somebody who might have a higher frame rate.
Yeah, because like not only the implementation, but you got to think of the end user's device as well. Like maybe it does at some level. It's such a nuanced thing as well, because
well, I mean, look at how
evidence for both. I guess
look at how bad implementation happens. We just saw Forza, where I was seeing like 7 to 10 FPS more not having multi-threading on, and I don't have that was on the PC without the efficiency cores. It's got real cores, and if you turn the threading off, it was running better. And that's not the only game we've had. And I was talking to a developer who basically couldn't use all the cores in the new consoles. And so they had like one core, and all it did was, I can't remember, something like music cues, or like, he was like, dude, we just had to throw something. It was just sitting there doing nothing. So it's like we threw some generic thing on there. So yeah, so it's a good,
you have this article, like, I don't know, I'm looking into it more as we speak. And it's like, like there's this article, it's recent to July 2023 on Tom's Hardware, and it's they really go into, like, this guy's claiming that it's like couldn't be further from the truth, that like the performance hindering is directly from Denuvo. There's just so much shit, you know what I mean?
I will say this
shit online about everything.
Since we know it is another process, it does have the chance of affecting something. We'll just say that.
Maybe, yeah. Well, yeah, for sure.
Because it is something else running.
Yeah, like people just don't like the fact that it's a thing as well, you know? It's all about effort, I feel like, because you are applying, you're validating, like you're doing validation checks at some points, right?
Yeah.
So you are doing something there, but I feel like if you do implement it properly, you just like shader caching and shit like that, it could be terrible and just cause so much stutters and stuff, and it could not, so it's really interesting topic to talk about.
I know a few pirates. This is Doc Brewski says, I know a few pirates. They were never going to buy Red Dead 2 anyways, at least not until the price drops a ton. I know a bunch of pirates who did buy it. One of the things that always cracks me up, dude, is I got some friends who, even though I review games, the way they talk, I can tell they're getting those games, not the right way. Every time, dude, I check to see if it's been cracked, and if it hasn't, they're like, fuck it, I went and bought it. I'm like, exactly. Even if it's 10%, there's a percent there. It's always funny. It's right. Unfortunate that you have to do it, but you do have to do it. But when we talk about DRM, I think the one thing that always interests me is if you ignore games and you look at consoles, it is stunning to me that the Xbox has not been hacked. Now, PlayStation 5 there's like some firmware or something. I think even Digital Foundry did they were showing like Bloodborne Drive Club at 50 or at 60 FPS because they were able to, there was some version, and I don't track it that well enough, but I am surprised that the hardware itself hasn't been like, like the 360 or the Xbox original. When those things got hacked, it was like, Dreamcast.
One of my 360s was chipped for sure.
Dude, you could go into stores and buy the 360 with like 500 games, Like, it was ridiculous. And
I racked the shit out of I racked up that gamer score, baby. I just had so many random games, and I'd get like the easy achievements of like starting the first chapter, and then my gamer score jumped to like 30K.
Hey, did you see when it comes to like people jumping in and on consoles, did you see that Call of Duty the 3 has a bunch of hackers already on the console version?
Oh yeah, I saw.
A lot of people complaining about that. Yeah, I don't know if anybody here in chat has played it, but it was console version. Yeah, it was nuts. It was like, I mean, I think even Delrith, if I remember right, I saw a post from him even that was just like, holy crap. Like, it was instant. It was like beta hackers right afterwards. And I don't know there's a difference between hackers and people using devices like the Zim and all those. I know some companies are starting to like do anti-Zim software that it checks to make sure you're not faking a controller when you actually have a mouse and keyboard. But it is interesting to see consoles getting that quickly hacked. Because I remember with the Xbox 360, you would get hacks, but it would sometimes be a little afterwards. Now it seems like, at least on the consoles, somebody's hacking them in some way. Somebody's getting into those games and doing some crazy stuff. I don't know if anybody's played Call of Duty in the chat. I would like to know if you guys are running into it. But.
Yeah, it's crazy because that was one of the advantages people would list of playing on console over PC.
Absolutely. Yep. It was a thing for years where I would have people get consoles that were friends of mine. They would buy consoles because the chance of their game having hacks, at least at first for 6 months, was very low, and then it seems to have gotten worse. And I was just surprised by the Call of Duty being done. What games
happened with Diablo 3 on the PS4 was hacked, like people hacked it, and it wasn't possible on the PC.
Oh, interesting. So it was possible. That's a reversal, right?
Yeah.
So we got some questions from chatters. One is, do you keep your work area clean?
Like at work?
If you work from home, if you work at an office, do you keep your work area clean?
Yeah. It's like kind of messy right now. I guess I have this like laying around. I have my candle. It's my wallet. Yeah, it's fairly clean though. I keep my office, but like in the office we have cleaners. So.
Oh yeah, true. Right. If you, yeah, I didn't even. Of course, yeah, they would have cleaners.
Yeah, but I don't really like make them. I don't do. Yeah.
Mine is a mess. Right now, I clean it about once every, like I do the rewiring and everything about once every 2 months because
your wires go crazy.
My wires, like I showed somebody a picture one time and they're like, what the fuck? So I would say mine is middling at absolute best, and especially because podcast recording requires completely different hardware than video game recording. So when I go between, it becomes a mess, and it just, man, there are times where I look at my desk and I'm like, oh my God, this is chaos.
Do you record on a different mic than the one you use
Dude, it's everything. It's like, well, no, the mic's the same, but the input's different. The no camera, that goes off, but the camera input is then plugged into the video game recorder. Different software, different everything. So when I stop our podcast, I have to move they're on arms and shit. So I'm like, moving this arm. You saw the light fall earlier. I got the lights up. All those have to go into a completely different room. So I would say mine is definitely not. Mine gets cluttered quite quickly. And the clutter is bad for you, I think. I personally think when I do rewire everything and move stuff and I look at it, I'm like, feels good. It's like a trim. It's like a haircut.
Bad wire management just pisses me off. I don't even, my wires are kind of sometimes all over the place, but pisses me off when I'm moving my headphones or something and something else falls or some shit.
Let me tell you the worst, dude. Or when
wires.
I get a cable for charging and I can't find it because they're all black. So I have a USB-C. Oh,
where
dude.
The fuck is it, man?
And my wife can hear me. I'll be in the bedroom going like,
is it in the void? Where the fuck did it go?
No, dude. I start to truly believe that aliens have stolen the USB. It'll be 3 a.m. I'm like a George Carlin skit where I'm like, it must be in the fridge because it's not here. And it won't be. I'll find out that in the middle of the night while I was, had it tangled from a thing while I was getting food or whatever, and I put it in the kitchen. And it's just in a weird place. But yes, I will get almost the audacity of reality. I'll be like, something's up. It disappeared. It fell into the nether. It fell upwards. It is hidden from me, and I will rebuy a wire, and then every time I'll find the wire. And
dude, it's like dropping something, and you're like, where the fuck did it go, dude? Dude, we live in an absurd reality, dude.
We do. You know it's glitching out of reality.
Governments can destroy whole ass countries with a click of a fucking button. A nuclear weapon, dude. We live in a very absurd reality, bro.
Yep. And I'm telling you right now, when I drop something, occasionally, I think the Matrix loses it and then senses that I'm searching for it and is like, oh shit, we need to. But I don't know if this has ever happened to you. There have been times where I've looked around and looked back, looked at the spot. It's not there.
It's not
and then
there.
Look back and look back and it's fucking there. And I'm like,
then
no,
it's there.
I know that it wasn't there. That's a good question. Thank you, guys. That was a good one. Next up, has there ever been a good sex scene in a video game ever? So I don't know what good means, but let's go with just a just good, where it wasn't like goofy. It wasn't
awkward.
Furthered the story. Maybe it could be awkward if it furthered the story, but just like a good one where it was handled like the normal cutscenes in a game, where it felt like it was handled to tell the part of the story and so forth. Do you think Witcher 3 with the unicorn? I thought that was. I didn't. I thought that.
Yeah.
You like those, okay.
Right? No. Witcher 3 like had a more story element than just like, oh, you're fucking someone, you know.
True.
I guess if you romance Shadowheart and BG3, it's like I guess everyone can have a different experience, but for me it was more of like a very, very slow buildup of like kind of getting to know her, going on a date, knowing more of her, you know, having our first kiss, you know, going there and like a huge revelation or whatever, and then starting to actually be in a relationship, and then you know, it was like a very natural build up and progression, where as I learned more of the character, we became closer. So I really did appreciate that. But I know a lot of other characters are like horn dogs, and some people can just you know, depending on choices, maybe like outright fucker or something like that.
So you would say one. So you think Shadowheart and then
in my game
Witcher,
it was handled well.
It was handled
Shadowheart. Well. Witcher, I feel like there's more to it. There's like more shit going on in the background. Like there's this whole thing with Yennefer where obviously it's been building up for a long time, and like he had like
exactly
amnesia and stuff, and then there was this thing with like the djinn or genie or whatever that was like, oh, do you actually love me because you love me, or do you love me because of the wish we made a while ago? So that stuff was kind of interesting. What about you?
I mean, you sort of maybe just sold me on Witcher. I was gonna say I didn't think so. I guess with Witcher it did a pretty good job. Yeah, Witcher probably did a pretty good job. I was not a huge fan of Baldur's Gate 3 because a lot of my characters were horny, and I'm like, dude, we're in the middle of, you know, like we're trying to stave off shit. I don't care about this. Mass Effect was terrible. Yeah. Like saving the universe. Oh, we got an ABBA
Alexios
to have sex.
And Odyssey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Alexios and Odyssey. Right.
God of War.
God
Dude,
of War.
Remember?
Yeah. I think that overall they're not, and I think even Baldur's Gate sort of started to show. People are gonna. I'm not trying to say they showed immaturity, but there was you know, it's almost like when your friend has never had sex, and when they do, they can't stop talking about it for a while. But also their ideas change. I felt like I felt a little bit like Baldur's Gate treated sex like, oh my God, it is different. And it was like nerds finally getting to write cutscenes for it, so they put it everywhere, and it became too cloying to me. There were times where I was sort of trying to get away from conversations because I didn't want to see it, like, not that I didn't want to in some kind of Puritan way, I just didn't want to waste time. It didn't feel like it was natural. I would say Shadowheart was pretty natural. And I'm sure people in chat will have other ones in that game, because I think it's still handled, it did it more, so there's a higher chance that it hits it right. I guess you're right with Witcher 3.
Because you see a lot of different, because some people on Reddit would be like, oh, everyone's so horny in my game, everyone's so horny, what the hell, like this is so unrealistic. And then in another post it's like, oh, everyone's rejecting me and shit. So it's
true.
Weird. I don't know what
that is true.
Really.
That is true. So that is true that yeah, there is a lot of choice. I could see Baldur. I don't know, man. I guess every time I see it, I'm just like,
God, Cloud 2 Abbey scene. Oh,
what?
No.
What one?
Like that.
What game?
God, that was awkward.
Oh yeah,
Last of Us 2 one.
That was it was just awkward, and that's a lot of those sex scenes are just awkward. They feel a little forced in, but it comes up a lot of times how games have traversed all kinds of other stuff and done it pretty well, but sex is almost always like the weakness. You see it in the game and you're like, it's just not.
It's like, they're not there yet. Have you never had a girlfriend in real life or something?
Right.
Like I play Cyberpunk, and you're like romancing Panam, and the sex scene in the tank was really awkward and weird, but like the campfire scene just fucking kills my soul, man. Just going like, oh, it's getting a little cold in front of like her whole family and stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I just
it's that one bad friend who just doesn't know what to say in a group, and you're like, this guy's never ever going with us again.
It made it so hard.
It was awkward in that. Yeah, it was awkward. It was awkward. You should see the mods my ex-wife used to have for Sims. Yeah, Sims is I think Sims is different. Sims is exploring whatever avenue you want in Sims, whether it be the jobs, exploration, the social interaction, and sex, because they have really X-rated Sims mods. But you're searching for that. It's a mod. It's not in the game. So I just want to make sure everybody listening, I'm talking about the mods. Sorry, I'm talking about the game, not a mod. If a mod adds it, that's different. I'm talking about how they've done it in the games. And it feels like a lot of times it just doesn't really nail it. And I had forgotten how uncomfortable Cyberpunk's was.
Yeah,
or at least the family scene.
Hurt me, yeah. Dude, honestly, I'm not into. I'm gonna say it, man. Like, if I'm really not like I don't give a like. Remember when a lot of people were complaining that Anthem didn't have romance options?
Yeah.
I don't really care, man.
Me neither,
I don't
man.
give a shit. If it works in the story, it works. If it's like Geralt's story or whatever, right? I don't give a fuck. I don't really give a shit.
If it handled in the story, like you were right about Witcher, I guess, in that it was handling all the relationships, which were really important to that story. Yeah. So
it was
I think that
very important.
That made sense, whether it was handled well or not. It made sense to have it. But some games you're playing and you're like, what's going on? Why are we pausing, saving the universe just so I can bang the blue chick? And then like you said, I forgot about the complaints. You'll get somebody being like, why does Tetris not have sex scenes? And you're like, would it have sex scenes? What are we talking about? Like Anthem. Anthem didn't even have gameplay half the time. Let alone
romance options were the least
right.
Of the priorities.
The romance option would have lasted longer in a cutscene than most levels in all of Anthem. So it's like and then the other one was connected to this. Have you ever found a character attractive in a video game?
Actually, but not from the looks, because looks wise I don't like, it's not really, but
attitude wise,
attitude, like the Outer Worlds girl, she's very cute,
she's awesome.
I really like the personality. She's really cool, she's competent, cool techie person. And I was
it's not Pan-Am, it's the other one. It's Pavardi, right?
Pavardi was dope, man. She'd be like a wifey.
Yeah,
like she likes girls.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the like. I don't think I've ever looked at a character and been like, wow, But if their like actions are cool, I'm like, that person's there's an attractiveness there.
Mm-hmm. They have something to offer there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I do hope Outer Worlds 2 is awesome, because I am actually incredibly excited for Outer Worlds 2. I just really want to see if they nail. I liked the hub gameplay of that a lot. I really enjoyed.
Hopefully, it's even bigger scope wise now with the bigger budget and stuff.
Absolutely. Guthrie's Galaxy is a YouTube member. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, man. People are talking about Shepard, Party.
Shepard,
Judy and Pan Am. Judy. Darkness 2 was great. Oh, Darkness 2. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, Darkness 2.
I don't remember Darkness and Darkness 2, dude.
I don't remember enough about Darkness 2 and the scenes there, but I do remember people talking about it and actually thinking it was cool. Do you know what wasn't cool? Oh, man, Fahrenheit. The Fahrenheit game.
God.
By what's his name? The guy who did Detroit Become Human. The guy Silver hates.
The one guy.
He did a game called Fahrenheit, and there's a sex scene at the starting of that.
One, right?
Yeah, dude. It's just like, wow, man, bro, you need to have a sex therapist come talk to you. That was a terrible, terrible sex scene, man. A lot of people are saying Cyberpunk. So I mean, a lot of people like Pavardi though. That is interesting. Pavardi and Pan Am looked a lot alike to me. I don't know if it's just the brunette with the done up hair, but something about them reminded me of each other a lot, a great deal. Yeah. And then
I wasn't as big of a fan of Pan Am. Like, she's hot, but
I wasn't either. No, not at all. I thought she was a cool character, but nowhere near as cool as Pavardi was. And Pavardi having that's the thing, is competency porn, like we talked about. Like, she was competent and all this stuff, but she was confused, and they played her being uncomfortable pretty well. They didn't just do it once. They had a couple scenes where she was, trying to figure out if a girl liked her, and you were like, that works well.
I thought that was very adorable, like helping her with her relationship and stuff. That was really, really cool. Yeah.
So let's talk about Activision Blizzard, baby. So Activision did the big, like, weird interview with Bobby Kotick, and he brought up Guitar Hero, or the other one, Rock Band, right?
Yeah. No, Guitar Hero.
Was it Guitar Hero?
No,
Okay,
Guitar
brought
Hero.
up Guitar
Yeah.
Hero, and then there were questions on how fast games would come to Game Pass. And if you notice the tweets that they sent out, they said, we have no plans. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude. I have no plans to take a piss today, but I'm going to.
Right. Like, it's not their choice though. Like, if they put their games on Game Pass or not, right?
No, but that tweet to me seemed like they were just saying we have no current plans. Those will change December when this goes live, and you're going to see some games on Game Pass.
Yeah, because they want to cash in on the holiday sales, and you got a new Call of Duty coming out. They're not going to announce it right now, where it's like, oh, by the way, it's going to be free anyway in a couple months. So
and they're not going to announce
it
to
your money, folks.
Possibly worsen the deal with the CMA. It's like instead just being like, we have no current plans, and then it happens. You're like, tomorrow, all Call of Duties, or you're just like, come on, man. I don't know. That's just me. Every time, like whenever, even I used to have friends that. We'd go to a group. We've talked about this, but you go to a group and they're really antagonistic, and you'd be like, "Let's not get in a fight today." I have no plans to get in a fight today. I'm like, well, we're getting in a fight today. Like that's or they bring it up on their own, and you're like, "Dude, that's uncomfortable. Why'd you bring that up?" It's because they have the exact opposite plan of what they said, and I just feel like Activision and Microsoft, it behooves them to do it. Christmas season would be a good time to be like, the Christmas package is blah 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 blah. You know, help their financials. Just like Sony is selling a PS5 Slim.
You know what I'm weirdly excited for? Because
my nudes?
Call of Duty games are still, like, the old ones are still like full price, and sometimes they go like 20% off.
Yeah, true.
I'm excited to just be able to like play all those old campaigns and just kind of fuck around, you know, like at least 5-hour like action flicks and stuff, you know what I mean? I want to play Infinite Warfare because I've never played that one. I heard it's really cool.
It's so good.
Advanced.
Infinite is the space one, baby.
Yeah. I really wanna go through that campaign.
It's just chat, because I'm sure somebody in chat's gonna be like, it's bad.
Because I don't care about the multiplayer aspect, and I'm not gonna pay like $60 to play an old COD campaign.
Exactly.
Right? So,
exactly. Yeah. And dude, they're the best. They're like the Rock 3 movies all boiled. Like they're man, and they would get my adrenaline pumping. They did
COD campaigns are good, man.
Dude, they are. And they're good at just delivering the campaign 1, 2, 3, 5, you know, climax, exact where you expected, blah blah blah, move on. And there's something to be said about all these games trying to add in shit, and a lot of the Call of Duty campaigns, the campaign part was just like, dude, you're shooting people, they're bad guys, you're the good guy, and go out there and shoot, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't like Infinite Warfare. See this guy hates me. Like
but they did, like, the older ones did really push some crazy shit forward, like
no Russian,
and Black Ops and stuff. Like they really went hard with those. And I know Modern Warfare 1 also, like the new one, new Modern Warfare 1 also had like a crazy part with like terrorists attacking. You could see like children dying and stuff. I think a child got shot and stuff, like Modern Warfare. But then I think 2 didn't really hit it as hard. It's more of like a basic action flick.
I played the no Russian one a couple years ago. I played it twice, and I think we talked about it before, trying to figure out which one it was. I still to this day don't feel like that had as much impact as they wanted it to. It had impact in the sphere. Oh, okay. So, to me,
I was a kid though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, this isn't a game. Like, I'm killing innocent people in an airport."
I guess I thought that too. But what I mean is, I guess I just didn't feel like it had its place. It wasn't. It didn't like. It was just like, you did this. I guess it didn't. It wasn't the linchpin in the plot I expected it to be, because I heard a lot about it prior to it coming out. There was a lot of talk about it, and there was a lot of blah blah blah. And it's like, once I played it, I was like, "Oh, okay. I mean, I get it." But it's a game, so
maybe that's what, because you heard about, like, I wasn't ignorant. Like,
so you just jumped in.
Like, I just bought like, hey, Call of Duty game, and then I jumped in and I played the story, and I got to that part, and I was like, what the fuck?
Did you do what I did?
You know what I mean?
Just didn't shoot anybody.
I shot everybody. I was like,
oh,
dude,
did you?
I was like, I have a gun, and I'm just gonna shoot. Like, these guys are shooting. You know, I'm undercover.
First time I played it, I didn't shoot anybody.
I'm gonna die anyway.
Yeah, I just walked in and like just walked around, shot at the floor. I know, but I guess I was trying to figure out what the hell was even going on. Like, why were we doing it? Like, what was occurring? And so when I played it, I was just like, you know, I'll just fire at the ground and stuff to see if it checked, to see if I did shoot anybody. Because you'll see that in spy movies, where the spy will join an evil group and they'll go out to do something like a bank robbery and he won't shoot anybody. And then later they're like, did you even shoot anybody? That's sort of what I was trying to play off of. But
yeah.
Eternal CMO says, I think new CODs are about to take a hit quality. Happened to every company Microsoft has bought so far. Man, I don't believe that at all.
Oh, later? I think already, I think already, like I don't think Modern Warfare 3 is pushing anything forward like the other ones as much. Like all they changed, like they're even using the old maps. All they changed, I think, was that you can run and move faster and stuff. And that's something I enjoyed about these new Modern Warfares, was like it's still a fast game, but it's a bit slower than the older ones. But they're not doing anything new with this one, which is weird because like obviously all CODs are like very similar, but they always had like a thing. Like each one had like remember Ghosts came out and it had like the alien thing, and like Infinite had like the space thing.
I liked the one with the alien thing a little bit just because it was different. I was sort of surprised by it. I loved Infinite because it was different and it was like, but yeah, I would say, at least from what I've seen, especially because the purchases Microsoft have done, all the games have been prior to Microsoft taking over. So I don't like for example, I joked about it last time. The idea that Phil Spencer apologized for Redfall is one of the dumbest situations I think I've ever seen in gaming in my life. It's like, dude, Redfall, it was I guess cool to see somebody come out and just take the blame, for the past transgressions of a company, but it's like, dude, that you weren't even there.
Is Avowed gonna I guess is Avowed gonna be like the first game that we'll see actual impact of Microsoft on Obsidian? Because Outer Worlds they started before it, Starfield they started before.
The only thing you're gonna see, because remember, like that's one of the reasons why you sorry, but like factually you can't, it's not Microsoft, it's these companies. The one
I mean like the effect of their money, like budget or
you may see budget. The big thing you'll see is their testing. They have a testing facility that's pretty massive, so there'll be less bugs like Starfield had, which Microsoft was pretty open about.
That was
but they don't have hands-on. Like regardless, that's one of the things that always sort of bothers me. It's just like they just don't have hands-on. So your blame, sadly, has to go to the developer you may have liked who delivered a game that just wasn't great. And it's just the way it is. I mean, we'll see these impacts, especially later, but currently, every single developer you talk to, everything, they're just hands off. They're like, you do your thing, and we'll see.
We've heard that from multiple developers. Even the In Exile guy talked about it.
And well, remember, he even said a lot of the features wouldn't be there in Wasteland 3 if they hadn't been. Like they wouldn't have even. I wonder how buggy that game would have been if they didn't have the testing facility.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, In Exile is doing their first ever like true FPP like shooter RPG type thing. They do have larger budgets now.
What's interesting is the budget comes from the publishing company, not Microsoft. So the budget comes from Bethesda for theirs. It doesn't come from Microsoft. So I don't know if the budget for In Exile, where they're getting the extra money now. Now that they're small enough.
I thought Microsoft just helped like Obsidian and stuff because they were like struggling before.
No, well, sometimes they were because they had those exclusivity deals. But what happens is, especially currently with Microsoft, is basically they just run parallel with the publisher. So the publisher does their own thing. And that's why they're able to make some weird games, that kind of stuff. Then Microsoft or Sony, by the way, will then sometimes fund a game. Be like, we want to fund this game. But I saw a lot of people blaming We Happy Few on Microsoft. And I was like, you guys do realize that was complete before Microsoft
that was way before. Huh?
That's on them.
Wait, did they acquire them? Did they acquire the people made it?
Yeah. And their deal was...
I remember way before, like, even Game Pass was a thing.
Yeah. It's just one of the things. No, Game Pass was a thing. Game Pass was a thing.
Really? When We Happy Few came out?
Yeah, dude, Game Pass has been a thing for ever. Yeah.
What?
Psychonauts 2. Well, yeah, Psychonauts 2 is probably one of the best, titles ever. I can't wait to see a new one.
2016. Was Game Pass available in 2016?
Yeah. Betcha.
What? That long ago? I don't even remember it. I thought
Game Pass was 360, my friend.
No. Okay, no.
We talking about something different?
Maybe it's just PC Game Pass, but something launched June 1st, 2017. That long ago? I don't even remember it. I thought it was like 2020 or something. But the Game Pass where it's like all these game catalogs for free, was that a thing in the 360?
I believe so. Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but I believe that it was a 360 thing too. Project Raven, yo ACG, just wanted to say I appreciate what you do. I legit don't buy a game until I see a game review from you. You save me a ton of money. Thank you very much. And remember, I will probably like a game you dislike or dislike a game you probably like. You know, I mean, that's the thing. Name one Bethesda published title that's released since the acquisition that didn't flop commercially. I don't know.
Well, they haven't yet.
Yeah, they haven't.
They haven't really.
Well, Starfield didn't. Obviously, Starfield did not flop.
Yeah, Starfield didn't. Starfield actually had less bugs because of their intervention. But I mean, Redfall was started way before.
Yeah.
The acquisition.
Well, I just don't think people track it. They're going to decide if they dislike a company and they're just going to run with it. It's like that's why when you look at like dates or facts, a lot of people just ignore them. They'll be like, whatever, you know. And I don't even like. I'm not super excited about the purchases, but I'm also, now that we see how Microsoft runs them, I like those better than some other purchases like Embracer, where we see they had an issue and so they evaporated a ton of these companies working on titles I wanted. You know, it's like that's the one thing is having that investor, having Lars in charge of Embracer was just, man, it hasn't worked out. You know, it just hasn't worked out. It's been really uncomfortable, man. So, and it's, I mean, I think when you, the one thing that I think, like when you look at like Todd, Pete Hines, those guys, they have a tendency to just put their heads down and do stuff. They come up, you see Todd on a couple interviews, so sort of makes sense that Phil was out there talking about Redfall, but it doesn't at the same time. Like in no way, shape, or form was it real. It was just sort of like if I take over for a football team and they've sucked, I just sort of say we've sucked. We're moving on. Yeah. It's just sort of what you have to do. Hindsight Hustle, $2. Just want to say hi. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it.
Thanks,
we have a good time doing
less bugs doesn't mean no bugs. No shit. No game has like no bugs, dude. You realize that, right? Still got a lot of.
You're talking to me?
Of the creation engine. No, this guy's saying less bugs doesn't mean no bugs will. Obviously, dude. Like it's always a spectrum. No game has no bugs whatsoever. Like try to find a game where you can't like
what are we talking about? Starfield or something?
We're talking about like
Starfield has way less bugs than anybody. I mean, regardless of the bugs it did have.
I was saying about Microsoft's direct impact, where they stated already that they a lot of QA was given to Bethesda.
Yeah. I think some people just try to make it sound like a lot of QA is bad or a lot of attention is bad. It's just like, okay, whatever. I don't really focus on those because it's not from like a objective standpoint. It's not. So it's there's not a lot of discussion around it. I think that the nice thing is that with more testing, we can get some of these games coming out with less bugs. We'll never know what they would have prior, but their testing facility is phenomenal. I mean, that is one thing you hear, like, it is phenomenal. They have a good testing QA facility and stuff, which I do think these it is funny, though, that sort of brought up, because I do feel that some of these companies that they've got were known for those bugs. Obsidian, blah, 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 were sort of known for those issues. And so it'll be interesting to see if it just continues or if it gets better like Starfield did.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the scope of especially like Obsidian, like what they're gonna do with, like, if they're just happy with like remaining at a similar like kind of smaller scope, or if they want to like actually become like a major big
since we they pointed out that like the QA is one of the huge things for all these companies that have had issues that won't now. I wonder too if they'll be able to put a little bit more in a game, because now the QA is handled by a larger team and we'll be able to see that. So I don't know if we'll see bigger games. It just depends, because it's probably going to be 4 years, right? 4 or 5 years, but some will be overlapping, which I want to talk about in a second with the Series S. Some of them will be overlapping, some won't. But we're going to start seeing them also, these companies come to fruition on the consoles, getting better at doing what they need to do on the consoles. So that'll also be interesting. I think the one thing with it also depends on the engine.
Yeah.
Honest truth. It depends. I mean, I don't really hate any engine, but some engines bring their own problems or their own solutions to the fight, which is always good.
It's interesting to see. Like, do you think? What do you think about the Unreal Engine stutter? Do you think it's like a bad implementation, or do you think it's literally just like you're just doomed? You're just doomed if you make any game on Unreal Engine. You just
No, you're not doomed anymore because they basically redone and reorganized the way that's done. So we're starting to see a couple games without it. I believe, we didn't see it on Remnant too.
Okay. Yeah.
So
RoboCop, I tried
RoboCop
the demo.
stutters were pretty gnarly.
Yeah, but a lot of people are saying Unreal. I think what it was doing was shader caching as you play the game, and not prior to the game. Because it reminded me a lot of when I was trying to play like a game on Yuzu on OpenGL, where it has to do its shader caching at mid game. Yeah.
Isn't it so weird?
You get like a lot of stutters in the beginning, and then if you revisit a place, you don't.
Yeah, you don't, because it's already done. That's what I was going to bring up. Is it's so weird that as we've moved forward in tech, we've introduced a problem that didn't exist. Like, that's so weird to be like shader stutter is a thing when it was not a thing. And now because of the advancements, which, by the way, have their own huge positives, you have this thing that's popped up that now people, and you're starting to see, you see that shader bar and you're like, why does every game have this now? Like, we used to be able to play some pretty sweet looking games with no shader. You just jump into the game, you'd be playing, it'd load up a level. But now it's like every game, when I see that bar, I just want to die inside. And it doesn't even take very long. Like, Starfield will build a shader in like 12 seconds or something.
More now, right?
Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of dude, I remember Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC. Every single time I'd launch it, it's like 30 minutes I have to wait to play the
for
game.
A shader to build.
Oh god. Yeah.
I find it strange that two games Bethesda had exclusive with PS5 were fine, but the MS exclusives are problems.
With what?
He said, I find it strange that the two games Bethesda had exclusive with PS5 were fine, but I'm trying to think of what games they had exclusive.
I think it's just a coincidence. I don't know, man. I don't see like a direct causation. Like, what the fuck would they do? Like, Arcane already knew they were doing Redfall. Bethesda already knew they were doing Starfield since like 8 years ago. Like, I don't know, what would Microsoft have like a direct impact?
Microsoft doesn't have any touch with either one of those.
Wasn't Deathloop Deathloop was a shit game? Like,
Deathloop was not very good. Game? Yeah. It was Ghostwire, but it had a bunch of technical issues. So I don't.
It's just a coincidence, man. Honestly, like,
or it's people not remembering that they had issues, or people didn't have issues. That happens too.
Yeah. Like, I can just say, oh, Wasteland 3 is awesome, and it released on Weird West is awesome. Forza Horizon 5 is awesome. Like, you can find bad games and good games. You can find Days Gone and so PS4 when it released. It was very buggy and fucked.
I feel that, like, when you look at these, dude, I think that consumers feel burned and they try to create patterns that just aren't there because you don't want to get burned again.
Yeah.
And I do understand that. I will, when objectively, like, there's a fact when you look at like Redfall or whatever, it's like objectively we know there's no discussion on that one. There's for 99% there's no discussion on Starfield. But when you do look at people getting burned on, like, let's say Cyberpunk or whatever, that we live in a post-cyberpunk world. Like, we do. And people a lot more cynical and a lot more trying to establish patterns. For example, people try to establish the PC pattern all the time for Sony games because their ports are bad. And it's like, oh, there's a pattern of this. Well, there might be a pattern of the developer. We've seen that before. When you see a certain name at times, you're like, this is a piece of, this is, but I mean, the honest truth is a lot of shit in life doesn't have patterns, and it feels good to establish one because it's more comfortable. But when you look at it, it's like, I think
it's just, there's a lot of entropy, and like, people just want to blame someone or something very easily, but it's way more nuanced than that.
It's unfortunate too, because there's also a ton of good games, and we remember the bad because those are the ones. I mean, humans were watching out for puma and shit in the woods, so your brain is quite literally wired to watch out for the problems and sort of get sedate and laid back on the good stuff, and so it's easy to forget something good. Like, for example, I'll hear multiple people talk about games that are, they'll be like, oh, this game's bad, and I'll bring up The Last Gears, which was phenomenal. Performance was insane, blah, blah, blah. And you'd be like, oh, yeah, I guess it was. But anyway, about the bad one, you're like, There we go.
Yeah,
Like,
you're gonna focus on, you're gonna pick and choose, right, to fit your narrative. People always do that. Like, you're gonna pick and choose like the bad part and be like, oh yeah, it's their direct result. But when you're trying to explain like a situation or trying to find a pattern, you need a pattern. You need to get like a larger sample size, and then with all other variables constant, you need to test for that one variable changing, and the variable here being Microsoft acquisition. You know what I mean? So you can't just be like, pick something and be like, oh yeah, I see a pattern here. This is the, like when people test for like medicine or drugs or whatever, they don't test it on like 5 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you gotta have a bigger sample size and just like take everything into account, rather than like picking and choosing like 2 bad games or something.
Powder Keg is saying, I think Cyberpunk changed a lot of people's minds on pre-ordering. Yeah, I think it changed people's minds on pre-ordering, and it sort of changed people's minds on what to look for, what to believe. I mean, I've had it on mine, even though I didn't like, I was like, this game is not good, it's not worth getting, blah blah blah. I still, you still have people who are like, well, even on the next game, if I liked it, they're like, well, I don't know if I believe you. It's almost like the more you like something, the more there's a question, because there's a worry. It's your money too. It's a big deal. Yeah. It's a big deal when it's $60. That's why I will suggest somebody check, like I did with Assassin's Creed Mirage. I was like, I'm actually really liking this. There's a ton of problems with it. I like it. But if you can get it on Uplay Connect first, if that's what it's called, Uplay Plus, whatever, I'm like, you should probably do that, so that it's a less of a financial hit for you. And that way you can sort of identify at that point if you like it. Because it is money, man. And we're all tight. If you're hearing all these layoffs in the businesses and all this stuff, not even just games, automotive, tech, all this shit layoffs, that means the people I'm talking to are also being laid off or having less. And so therefore you're getting more and more nervous about the future, more and more nervous about those games, which we talked about with like The Last of Us remake. It's like, why? Yeah. Your question was, why? Which is a pretty basic question.
Or like Terry, like, why?
Why?
Like,
yeah. Sam Torres, $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Schmiegel says, ACG, do games ever come out perfect at launch? No.
Nothing's perfect at launch, I don't think. And the history, like, I mean, I remember bugs. What was perfect? Tetris. I had no issues.
So, yeah, I mean,
Super Mario. Mario's have been very, very polished. Like Mario 64 has a ton of glitches and shit you could do and bugs.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Odyssey, I don't even remember.
I think one of the biggest...
Psychonauts 2,
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues also is that you may have 5 platforms you're releasing on plus 150 PC configurations.
Yeah.
So, for example, and I can speak to this, I test on my PC that I consider to be lived in. That's the PC that's got Discord, the PC that's got OBS, the PC that's got DAWs. Then I do testing on a PC that is for the PC with nothing. And I'm not saying I run into more issues on the lived-in PCs, but I do. In the long run, occasionally have an issue with a DAW or some audio issue where you're like, whoa, what's going on? You find out an AISO driver is screwing up the game, and you have to sort of identify that. And then you take my one PC and multiply it by 150,000.
Yeah.
For a small game, for a small AAA.
Right.
That's pretty nuts. Like and configurations RAM. I just had somebody tell me, oh man, I'm fine with 8 gigs of RAM. And I'm like, what? What? I've been at 8 gigs of RAM for like a decade. What were you going to say?
Yeah. If devs, I heard that from a dev actually, and it speaks true because I think that happens with all creation. I'm sure it happens with you putting out videos as well, where if devs are gonna wait until a game is completely perfect before they release it, then they're never gonna release it, because nothing's ever gonna get to that point, and they're just gonna have to put their foot down and be like, hey, this is our due date. We gotta like fucking polish it up and like fix it all together and do the best that we can and release it, because they're gonna keep iterating and introducing new features is gonna cause more bugs, and then fixing one bug is gonna cause another bug, and it's all
I
about
had bugs in Cyberpunk
well, right?
with 2.0 that I didn't have with the original.
Oh yeah, me too. I had hard crash. The original never hard crashed for me. Like I had a lot of visual bugs and shit, but it never hard crashed. But 2.0, there was a clear hard crash every time you used like a mod on a sword.
Yeah, right. The mod on the sword was hilarious. I mean, not hilarious, but it was.
And then I got another hard crash when I was checking like a terminal. And I was
remember when everybody thought you were talking? I knew you were not talking about a mod you had downloaded. And you
like a
posted
mod
it in the
game,
Discord,
sorry.
yeah. And I was like, I don't think he's talking about a mod that he added to the game. I think he's talking about the mod that's in the game causing a crash.
That would have been stupid if I said, oh my god, a mod is causing a crash.
I figured,
like, no shit,
exactly. I figured there was no chance you were going to post that. And like, I don't think he would be, because you do mods enough. It's like, purple exclamation point in a Skyrim game or whatever. You're like, here we go. But yeah, it was sort of awesome to see people go, well, mods. And it's like, no, dude, the mod is the name of the thing in the game. Like, that's, but to get off bad stuff for a bit, let's move on to some good questions.
Yay.
I'm going to delete this one because that one's just a stupid one. Have you ever felt, listen to this. This is a fucking awesome question, man. We talked about this in our D&D game or a board game a couple weeks ago. Has there ever been a good guy in a game that you've played where when you got done or when you were playing it, you thought to yourself, this motherfucker's the bad guy? So you're playing it and you're like, I'm the bad guy. No matter how they try to moralize it, you're like, no, dude, ignore
like,
Call of Duty.
Bad guys?
Yeah, ignore the Call of Duty, like no Russian. But a game that you're playing, it can be a CRPG, but something you're like, dude, we're the bad guys, like regardless of anything else that pops up. And by the way, let's not pick games that on purpose are that way, because there's the one shooter.
Okay, I was gonna say a game that would have spoiled. Like I can't say the game now because the whole
I know what you're talking.
Is that
yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say that about but Uncharted, like you
Nate
kill, like,
just blowing everybody away.
There was one where it was like a game where you think you're the good guy, or you are a good guy, but like at the end you kind of question it. I know that happened quite a few times before. I mean, obviously,
you could
Hitman,
say Last
do you
of Us.
Believe that you're a good guy playing Hitman?
No,
you're just like morally ambiguous, or like
no, dude, come on, Hitman.
You're just a bad guy.
Hitman, you're a bad guy, and it crouches it in like the pseudo politics, like you're possibly taking out somebody who's done bad, but I still, regardless if I believe that or if I would even do it if I was a Hitman, I still think when you get done with Hitman, you're not a good guy. Like, you're not a good guy.
Yeah.
You may not be evil, but you're not a good guy. But what about you? Is there
true.
Hitman's a good one? Uncharted. Somebody said Last of Us. I think everybody agrees. Last of Us. It's morally gray.
No. Okay, Last of Us. No. Okay, here's the thing.
SBZ, real quick. I got to point this out. SBZ said Shadow of the Colossus. Which, yes.
Oh, shit,
right?
dude.
Yeah, dude. Shadow of the Colossus is the perfect answer for me. That's sorry, what you're saying. But that's a good one.
Even Monster Hunter, I like while playing.
Yeah, Monster Hunter. You're just mowing down the wildlife, dude.
That's true, man. Good one. No, with Joel, it's very, very complicated, man. It's very complicated. There's a lot of, like, the whole idea of it isn't to be like, oh, Joel's just a bad guy.
Right.
There's so much that goes into it.
What choice do you make when every choice hurts? Like,
and are what were they called? The Fireflies?
Mm-hmm. Fireflies.
Like, are they good people? Was it like 100% chance of it working? Did they inform? Like, did she know going into it, like, what was gonna happen? Like, there's a lot of these questions, and it's like, do you have a daughter? And she was like a daughter-like figure, and obviously he had this history with his daughter, and it's like, is he justified? But like, is justified meaning he's a good guy? Like, is killing all of these people like like, is that like morally bad? Like, there's so many questions there that, like, you know what would have been more interesting is if they made it so that, like, the because we don't know if the cure was like 100% going to work, right?
Right.
If they explicitly stated there's a 20% of the cure chancing, or a chance of the cure working, I think that would have been like that would have triggered your brain more, like, to like think about it more.
Yeah.
But, people assume it's like 100% chance of the cure working, but I don't know. There's a lot of questions there. You know, it's very hard. Like that was like one of the cool things about the ending. Yeah.
And they purposely aimed for that a little bit, like the shooter game we're talking about, where they, it's obvious that they were aiming for it. What I did notice, especially in BioWare games, like, you'll play Inquisition or even the Mass Effect, maybe Mass Effect 2, but you'll be playing them and you'll be like, man, I don't know if this guy is, and this is not even me playing him evil. This is just sort of me playing him and going, I think Shepard's a good guy. I think overall, it's obvious he's trying to save people, but at the same time, he's also, like, pretty much nuking entire civilizations, to put together a team at the end. And by the end, you're like, seriously, dude, it's like a racial extermination because you don't or do agree. You can let them live, or you can do, you know what I mean? There's some races you destroy in that game. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion, because it's like some of the games like Monster Hunter, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can walk away from Monster Hunter and be like, I'm the good guy. It's like, no, you legitimately came to a park and you beat the shit out of these.
It feels bad, man.
Yeah.
Especially in like World, when you see like the whole because they have this whole system where like monsters are hunting other monsters, and like they're just living their lives, and just leave it alone, man. Just like they're hunting each other and shit. Why do we have to eradicate all these creatures?
I like it. Oh, hey, Jake says Pokemon, combining cage fighting animals that you kidnap and force drugs on to use to fight harder, and child gambling. Yeah.
True. That's a good one, man.
Pokemon's the one that it gets away with it because of the graphic. Like if that had been a realistic or whatever, people might have questioned it. But with Pokemon, you're like, oh, I'm going to capture this animal.
Yeah, where's PETA when you need it?
Yeah, where's PETA fighting for the mystical animals? But no, it's always an interesting discussion, because it's like some stuff I don't care about, but I think Dragon's Dogma, sometimes I did some stuff in Dragon's Dogma and I'm like,
yeah.
But to be true evil, there's only a couple games where I've like got done with it and been like, oh yeah, you know, I would say I'm just not a good guy.
There's something in the tip of my tongue that I'm trying to think about.
Game?
It's just, a game where I was like, at the end, it like left it at a point where I was like, holy fuck. Like it wasn't like super like out there where it like completely told you, but you just kind of think about it.
Yeah, you walk away from it and go, that's gonna make me
and I
think.
want to remember what it was, dude.
Doom Reaper says a certain Star Wars game. Force Unleashed, maybe?
Really? I mean, the people argue a lot that the Jedi is actually not that
in
evil or something.
In Survivor or whatever, or in oh, you mean in just Star Wars in general?
Especially pre-Empire, like they argue like they had all these I didn't really read into the lore that much, but there's a lot of like arguments about the Jedi being like an evil thing, you know.
I mean, especially when you look at sort of a radical group at times for the Jedi. It depends on the time frame, though. You know what I mean? Like Old Republic versus New Dawn, or New Light Republic, or whatever, versus Star Wars movies, even versus the first three, and second three, and third three. Or were there third three? Yeah, there's 9 in the main movie series, isn't there? 1, 2.
For me, there's 6. So
yeah, right. Yeah, the last 3 were pretty rough, man. Even as a Star Wars fan, I was
I watched the first one out of the new ones, and I was like, nope, I'm not. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
Even the actors just hated it. They hated talking about it.
Dude, I remember the best was Mark Hamill not hiding, just shitting on it. And he would like reverse his stance. Ford. He'd reverse his stance, and then the next interview, Hamill was chomping at the bit for somebody to ask him the question, so he could he could say something, reverse it later. Not my thing. But I remember one of the times when he was talking about, he's like, well, this isn't my Luke. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's not your Luke, whatever. I saw, by the way, I don't know, you're way too young for this, but Vampire Lestat came out, and people were very mad that Tom Cruise was a bad guy. They were beside themselves. This is pre-Collateral. And I remember an interview where they were asking audience what they thought of Vampire Lestat, and somebody said, well, this isn't my Tom. And I remember thinking, I'm not an actor, but if somebody said that to me, I would leap into the crowd and try to karate chop people. Like, I'm an actor. An actor like that.
I hate that entitlement. It's the worst, dude.
It is, but at the same time, I do get where Mark Hamill needed some pretty serious clarification on why, because that's all he was. It wasn't one movie with Tom Cruise, Vampire. It was multiple movies where you had built him up to be one thing, and then you were like, we're going to deconstruct this. I personally think it was done quite poorly, but regardless of what I think, it's an interesting time to be post those movies, because when you grew up, Luke was one thing, and now, even at the end, I don't want to spoil that ending, but even at the end, it's like, I'm not quite sure they even redeemed him. Even at the end, he was just like, this is a really weird situation for this character to be in. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to listen. And Harrison Ford, were you bothered by dying? No. Harrison Ford is the shoe leather of actors, man.
Yeah. And I thought that death was super forced, man. I don't know.
My God, yeah. Did you see, did I tell you already, though, that Mark Hamill does an amazing Harrison Ford interpretation? Did I already tell you about that?
It does it. I'm not surprised though, because Mark Hamill can do
Mark
a lot
Hamill's
of cool,
good. He does
really
one.
good imitations. Yeah.
He does one of Harrison Ford that is just it's brutal, and it's everything Harrison Ford is known for, which is the deadpan, what the fuck, like Harrison Ford, man, that guy could be on fire and he'd be like, I don't like fire, and it would just go out. Something about him. He's like the guy who disbelieves in the Matrix, and the Matrix is like, fuck it, we're done. Harrison Ford doesn't believe in us. Last thing, Disney buying EA. So there's a rumor, I guess, and it's sort of backed up, but that Iger, the guy who was hired to go back for Disney, there's some people pushing, or he's pushing for them to jump into games and for them to possibly do an acquisition, which would be EA.
Yeah.
Dude, Disney tried once. Disney had its own studios. They did not Starlander or not Skylanders, the other one. Disney Infinity. They had their own developers at the time, and then it all sort of failed. I don't know if I want Disney anywhere near.
No, I don't. They already do have like a lot of licensed games, right? You got all the Marvel shit, you got all the Star Wars stuff, but fuck man, I don't like Disney. I'm not like a fan of Disney. I think they ruin a lot of things.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you look at even if you're a fan of superhero films, I think most people, not everybody, would look at Marvel and go, this is overdone. Like, go look at all the stuff Disney's done and be like, this is done too much. The idea of them merging with EA is a little weird.
It's a little weird. It also weirdly seems like if they were to come into games, that would be like EA would be the ones to merge with for Disney, right?
Or Activision. If Activision didn't merge with Microsoft, I could see Disney looking at them. But Disney most likely is looking at buying one of those huge ones to just jumpstart their entire gaming division. So they don't want to go small. They don't want to buy up small ones like Embracer.
Does Disney acquiring something necessarily mean that they will kitify all of it? For example, like if they were to buy EA, does that mean that Dragon Age won't have the word "fuck" in it or something?
Disney has been a little looser. Disney's been a little looser as of late, so I don't know how they would handle games. Their old game stuff was pretty, at least from what I remember, was pretty soft. But I think now they also know that you're leaving a lot of money on the floor, like billions, if you don't age
industry.
some. I mean, it's huge. Yeah, exactly. It's the biggest industry. So it's like, but personally, what I would think we would see is stuff like Survivor, like a movie with Jedi Survivor, something like that. You might see like overlapping on shows and movies.
Adapting EA. Imagine they do it like a Titanfall movie or something. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. That's the good part that you might get out of it. I just think
that would be the good part. But at the same time, like I already don't have much hope for Dragon Age, and that would just like do me in. I don't know.
I mean, I don't have any hope for Dragon. I mean, I do because it could turn out great, but it just feels like, well, what game had a bunch of problems and then rebuilt itself? We were just talking about, not Cyberpunk, the other one. It reset itself. It was being made. They lost it. No, oh shoot! It was the starting of this this discussion.
Island? Oh
no, but Dead Island 2 is definitely exactly what I'm talking about. Where it went through troubled times and they actually replaced. There's one that replaced. You were even saying they replaced the dev. It's not even theirs. And then, oh shoot, I don't know why I can't remember this title, but it has happened. So Lords of the Fallen. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why I was having a problem. Lords of the Fallen. The version we're gonna play is not the starting. It was a different developer. Yeah. And looks to in all ways, shape, or form be awesome. So
the thing is, like I always, I'm an optimistic person. Even though I shouldn't, have any kind of hope that BioWare will ever like grace us with like a good ass RPG like back in the good old days. I always I always have a feeling where I want like a very hated company to release something super amazing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it's about. It's not like they're the underdog because they're like one of the biggest companies like EA, whatever. But like that warms my heart when people like something. You know, when people start going like, okay, this company isn't that bad. You know what I mean? I love that. I love that more than anything. So if BioWare could like release like an amazing Dragon Age RPG and stuff, and people go like, oh, this is awesome, like that. You know what I mean? Like that. Like that would. You know, I don't know why I have like this thing. I don't know if it's like an underdog complex or something. I don't think it is. It's more of like an overdog thing where it's like they become so big that they drove people away that I want to see them like do something amazing again.
Well, you hear it a lot with EA. People bitch about EA, and then you go look at EA Originals, the money they give to indies, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Like, there's actually...
how good they are to their employers.
There's employees. Like, yeah, aren't they considered... I'm pretty sure they got, like, number 2 or 3 for, like, you know, employee satisfaction.
Best place to work.
Yeah, or something like that, which, by the way, got to tell you, never in a million years would I have guessed that. But I think Reg even brought it up one time, and I was like, what? You know, and it turned out to be true.
Yeah, they're very good to their work. It's crazy because like CDPR before like Witcher 3 days, like it was very looked at as consumer friendly, right? It was consumer friendly. They gave you all these DLC for free and like amazing expansions and like this awesome value proposition. Like consumers loved it and loved them and had a really good reputation. But the working place, like people hated working there. They were underpaid, overworked, blah blah blah, all this shit. And then EA is like the complete opposite, where it's like super anti-consumer friendly but super amazing to their employees. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a weird dichotomy. I hadn't thought about that. Right. Now you got Witcher 3 devs unionized, right? Didn't 3 groups or something? Or there were 3 groups of layoffs?
Like 3 sets of layoffs, and so they now unionized. But I don't really know, was it like disproportionately, were the layoffs disproportionate to like the normal layoffs that the tech industry has been having? Because like 3 in a row seems a little bit, a lot, but... I mean, they've been having layoffs since Cyberpunk released, and even a bit before that.
Yeah,
we just saw like a lot of devs leaving, so I don't know what's going on.
I mean, dude, the layoffs are everywhere.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's like, I mean, and the unionization is there, but you can also go on strike as a union too. So it's like, we had that person on our Discord who worked on movies, and he was like, there's issues, but now we're on strike, and so I got nothing. I'm like, oh, damn. Like, so you have the positive of one thing. No matter what, nothing's going to always be positive on all sides. It wouldn't work that way. That's not legitimately how anything works. But you think the one thing, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, shit. That means you don't get to control your destiny, but maybe your overall destiny's higher. But it's like at times things can turn to absolute dog shit for you. It just...
you like create a narrative in your head or something. Yeah. About like... Yeah, you draw conclusions. Yeah.
It's just going to be, I mean, especially when you look at EA and Disney. I just don't, I don't see the synergy there right now. I mean, there might be, and I'm not picking up on it, but it's like when you say Disney, I say EA because it's big, and that's what they would do is try to, that's it though. Yeah. There doesn't, like even with Microsoft and Bethesda, it made total sense. I mean, you could tell those guys have liked working with each other for centuries. It feels like Xbox original, I think, was Morrowind. And you always hear them being like, oh, they gave us help. We tried to do this. We're going to team up and do that. And so you're like, okay, I get it. And in many ways, at times I felt Ubisoft felt the same way about Sony. There was a lot of Ubisoft exclusive this and that. And I was like, oh, they're getting pretty, there's sort of a chumminess there that I see with Ubisoft and Sony. But with EA and Disney, there's nothing. It's like 2 robotic entities having sex.
Like the one Marvel game they released, Avengers or something.
Well, Avengers,
and Star Wars, I guess.
I was gonna say who it was Square Enix who did Guardians, right? Yeah, Square.
Oh yeah, Square Enix did Avengers as well, right? Yeah, Square Enix did Avengers, not EA.
Did they? Yeah, right. No, you're right. Because
because it felt like Avengers like an EA release.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's because there is this weird overarching theme or vibe from some companies and Square and EA at times, especially when you hear all the devs having issues, even though, again, it's opposite for EA. You expect EA to have issues. You expect those. They don't pop up. But with Square, there's always some developer saying they didn't get paid. It just... I feel like every time I wake up, there's news about some dev saying like, or Square when they were blaming the devs, like I get it, but you probably shouldn't. You may be like, these guys weren't up to the challenge, but it's like, okay, we weren't up to the challenge, but you don't say it. You don't air your, right now, everybody's airing their dirty laundry, or what they consider to be dirty. What else do we got before we wrap it up? Mickey
It's
Mouse
funny with the
skins in
Marvel-
Fortnite. Well, go ahead.
It's crazy. This was fuck, man. Did Eidos, did they do Avengers or just Guardians of the Galaxy? Who did Avengers? Other like within Square Enix. Was it Eidos as well?
No, I don't think so. No, because Eidos did. Anybody
like,
in chat know that one? Because I don't
like,
know
when
that.
I think of Avengers, like, yeah, EA came into my head instantly for some reason because of that feel that we talked about.
Yeah.
But when Guardians of the Galaxy had a lot of Square Enix in it with the team building shit, and it had a lot of Deus Ex
Crystal
in it,
Dynamics.
weirdly.
Crystal Dynamics.
Crystal Dynamics. Okay. Yeah, because it had like also the 0451 and Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it had a lot of Deus Ex.
Dude,
like,
Guardians
like Final Fantasy
shows that you can do a superhero game, right?
That was fun. Yeah, that was like my favorite one.
Dude,
that
it was so
like,
it was
such a good game.
And playing it for review, I was like, oh, people are gonna lose their shit because it's good. Because I admit I did not think that they would be able to replace the actors with the voice. I was like, dude, I'm sorry, but Chris Pratt is Star-Lord.
I wasn't
like,
feeling it. The trailers looked bad.
Remember, we were like, oh, this nothing about that game looked like it was gonna have any superior like actual quality, and it was all quality. It was so weird to play that.
Mind.
Yeah, I remember playing it for review, being like, oh my god, this, like, people are not going to know how to handle this game because it is going to break a lot of the traditions or expectations, and it did, which is
so much detail.
Yeah, which is good too. They're one of the big ones that have sort of returned, because I think the last game of theirs wasn't the greatest. I think Square overall just has some issues. I like some of their
Square
games.
Does have issues.
Square's got issues.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. Their most what's their like most successful thing right now for them? Like probably Final Fantasy 14 online.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 14 online's got to be like that thing's like probably, I'm assuming, the biggest cash cow in the universe.
Yeah, 16 lost a lot of money, right? Or 16 didn't sell as well as they hoped.
16 did not sell as well as they hoped.
It was exclusive. Yeah.
Looking at the, I want to get the questions in. Should Bethesda make Elder Scrolls 6 on the Creation Engine or another engine, and why? This is It's Dom 03.
Okay. Oh my God, I don't want to. I have to get into this. I don't listen, dude. I think the mod community is very, very, very important. I think they could keep improving. Like, see, this is a hard one.
You mean because if they switch engines, they might break the mod community's overall?
Yeah, and the mod community is fucking amazing. Yeah. But like the thing is, you can't really like some people say like the awkwardness and the weird, like, you know, Bethesda-ness comes from like the engine itself, like the talking heads, like the characters. Some people say it's just like their implementation and they can implement it differently.
Yeah.
I just, it's such a hard, like, obviously there are things when you play Starfield, you're like, oh, this is like a Bethesda game, but is it because of the engine? But the thing is, the engine is also has a massive community. Like the modding community is huge, and they've done amazing things, and I don't want that to go away. I want that to stay familiar, but I also do want them to keep improving. I don't know if like the issues that people have with Creation Engine can be iteratively fixed, or if they just like should move engines with it. Like I don't really.
I would say
I personally don't have a problem because I value the mods way more than like the awkwardness.
I value the interactions with the world and all the things you can grab and all that stuff, which is higher. And so I would say, you know, I would rather have them stick with the Creation Engine. They fixed the shooting or improved shooting a great deal in Starfield. They improved the combat a great deal in Starfield. There's still issues with it. There's issues with a lot of games, but in particular that. So Elder Scrolls 6, I would much rather have them. I just like the interactivity, and it feels different than any other game. I like it. I like that kind of stuff. But it also depends on what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be. Is it going to be like Skyrim, where it's an area, or is it going to be huge like ESO? That's also going to depend on everything. But overall, I don't love the engine, but I do love parts of the engine that even from them, not the modders, even from them that I love and is unique to them.
Yeah, that's true. And I also have to point out, like, I know a lot of people compared like the kind of the storytelling from like Cyberpunk to Starfield, and the thing is, like, I I don't fucking play Bethesda for like the story. I don't get immersed in the story experience as I do. Like for example, Cyberpunk has these moments. I get immersed with like the sandbox elements and emergent gameplay they have in those systems. Like there are some stuff, man, that you really appreciate about the engine or about the way they do things that you don't really get in other games. Like try like looting stuff in Cyberpunk and how gamey it is and stuff, and how like you leave your car one place and you go away like 200 meters, you come back and the car is gone. The one thing I would like them to do, and I think they might have a shot with it on an Elder Scrolls 6, like the one thing I really want them to improve is loading screens for sure, because having like a seamless experience definitely helps a lot. Like the open cities in Skyrim was amazing. It's an amazing mod. And I feel like
6 years to get that mod to work. Let's remember that.
Did it?
Yeah, when open cities first started, it would cause game save corruption and memory issues because all those NPCs were then like they were loaded up in the cells out. There were all kinds of issues. I love the idea, but it took a long time for them to fix it. Now, I'm not saying Bethesda shouldn't be able to fix it. I'm saying it took them a long time. But I agree with the loading screens, but I will say I liked Phantom Liberty a lot. I love 2.0 in Cyberpunk a lot, but that is one of the most Ubisofted games, and I'm using that as a term that other people use because I'm not necessarily bothered in a Far Cry, but when I was playing Cyberpunk, it's like there's a gang fight every 2 feet. There's a there's not a lot of actual things going on that aren't instanced to you in Cyberpunk. So I don't want them going that way. I want them going whatever way they can to where the interactivity is just as high. I love grabbing things. I love moving things around. I love all that. No other game engine seems to track that. And you do talk to devs who even say the same thing. They're like, if you tried to do that in Unreal, you'd run into there's all these other things. Each engine's different. I don't love the creation engine. I don't love Unreal. But I think for them, I'd rather have them stick with, just because they're ignoring mods, man. I just there's a feel to it that I would like them to fix and bring up parts, but I don't want them to remove the everything, like the touching and the there's something about it, man, that I don't know. I don't know enough to be able to even say more than I don't know. I just like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have enough information to delineate, like to be like, oh, this is a direct cause from the engine or just their design principles or
and
whatever.
What's great is we did see them improve things like the shooting. We saw that like distinctly improved. So it's like, okay, so these can be improved. It's just how we're going to go about it. And then Elder Scrolls, you're going to load no matter what if you travel QuickTime, right? If you and that's sort of how Starfield handles all travel in a weird way, is QuickTime. That's sort of why you get those loading screens. I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have that. I think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have only loading screens when you fast travel, and then the rest of the time it'll be like a Skyrim game. I'm just wondering how big it'll be, because that's the thing is we don't know how long. Like, what are they going to try to do? And like, I got to admit,
where would they go from like the?
But ESO as well, dude. ESO is
it's massive,
arguably massive, and actually a really good representation of Elder Scrolls. So it's like they have to fight. That's the one time where they have to say, like, what do we take from the MMO as an idea, even though it's not them. It's going to be awesome to see. I'm excited to see it, even if it turns out to be shit. I'm not a huge Elder Scrolls fan, though, either. Certain games I've liked and other ones I've...
I'm a bigger Fallout fan, but like I wasn't like the biggest fan of Fallout 4. I love Fallout 3.
And New Vegas. Did you like New Vegas?
Yeah, but not as much as Fallout 3. But I did really appreciate the role play in New Vegas. There's a lot of cool choices and factions and cool story bits. But like in terms of like world and stuff and characters, like Three Dog, no one really replaces Three Dog for me. And just the feel of it, and it was like a new thing for me.
Out of all their games, Fallout's my favorite world. By far.
Yeah,
Starfield's close because I like space stuff, but Fallout is.
Yeah, out of all Bethesda games, Fallout 3 is my favorite one for sure.
Dude, like in the horror elements, which they did great in Starfield in some of those later levels with the Tyranids. They're called Tyranids in Warhammer. I don't remember what they're called in Starfield, but the aliens, you get the xenomorphs or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's some horror elements. But in Fallout, they nailed it, man. There are scary parts in Fallout, and that like the hearing of the radiation sensor will probably always be in my head, or hearing, like you said, radio broadcasts. Fallout just nailed it. It's Dom also asks, is an OLED worth upgrading to? Or Would it be, well, interesting. Is an OLED worth upgrading to, or would it be better to do a PC upgrade, such as CPU, GPU, and RAM?
PC upgrade.
Yeah. Not even
100%.
Yeah. OLED's great. And so is micro LED. Right. They're phenomenal, but that's not even, it's quite literally not even a conversation. PC upgrade would be best. Or Oregon Fresh says, does PlayStation have a platform problem? As in, do they have a problem getting new people into the PlayStation ecosystem? With no launcher and buying a PS5 at the high price being the only way into it. No, we talked about this earlier. They don't. In fact, I think that's why you're seeing the Slim, because they're selling well. It's Dom also asks, should you ever have to power through a section of a game you aren't enjoying, or just drop it if you aren't having a good time? There's games I play where I just go to a section where I'm not enjoying it, so I never finish the game.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I've got into like sections in games, and it's usually like older games I'm playing where I'm like halfway through or like 3/4 in, and I'm like, fuck this shit, and I just watch a YouTube video of a let's play of the rest. Yeah. Where I'm like, nah, fuck this, I'm not going through that shit. I
mean, I've read books, and then halfway through, 3/4 of the way, it just sort of loses its ass, and you're like, all right, man, I'll read a summary on it. Maybe if the summary catches, even I've done that with a YouTube though. Watched a game that I wasn't going to continue playing, and I liked what I saw, and was like, oh, you know what? I am gonna play that. Like, there might be something here that I actually enjoy. And then It's Dom says, can revolutionary graphics carry a game if the gameplay is below average? No. Cyberpunk sold really well, even though it had...
Can revolutionary graphics carry forward a game
that only has adequate or below average gameplay?
Oh, not for me.
Yeah, I would say...
If it's not fun, I don't give a shit.
It gets picked up on, right? At some point, people start talking about the gameplay, and the graphics start to matter.
Like, how long are you going to be able to play a game just for appreciating the graphics, other than like more than like an hour, right? Like, oh, cool, that looks cool. And then...
I loved Horizon, but I heard a lot of people just weren't huge fans of Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West. They after a while, they were like, they just didn't love the gameplay. They loved the world. They loved the neon dinosaurs, but they were like, I'm just not a fan.
I love the look of it and the world. It burnt me out though, yeah. But I love the gameplay of it too. But there's some like parts of it where it's like, oh, like it makes me like go like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I look at the map and I'm like, oh fuck.
Like those games that load up a new location and you know it's going to be the same repetitive.
Yeah.
And if that repeating is a part of gaming, but if it's repeating, like the term,
there has to be
the
something
inflection,
like carrying you forward.
Yeah. You'll hear like, repeating, example, you'll be like, ugh.
Like Mirage, like I played a good 12 hours of it or something, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to like continue, because at the point I was, it's like, oh, I just have fun assassinating and stuff, but there's the story I don't really care about, and there's nothing there that's like, no goal there to work towards for me. Like there was nothing where I was like, oh, that I want to work towards this, right? Or it's just like, okay, I'm just assassinating people.
I just got to point out, I also feel that anytime you try to make a game that explains a person's history, if it starts out with them as a kid and you already know the person's history from another game, it is very difficult to tell a fun story in there, because there's no threat. There's no threat to Basim. There's no threat at all. I liked Mirage. It had some issues, but I actually really enjoyed it. But I didn't love the story. And one of the major reasons why is I was like, well, I know what's like... what's happening. It's not like Star Wars where it's like there's all this in depth. It's like Assassin's Creed. We already know they're not going to show a bunch of the Animus because they've sort of gone away from. Yeah, there's no, So like you said, if the assassination is good and you like that, you can beat it. But it is very difficult to tell a story in the middle. Even movies, like there's going to be there's already a prequel for John Wick, and I'm like, I don't know if I care. I mean.
The more I played it, the more I realized how much better it would have been as a DLC, like you said.
It absolutely should have been a DLC.
So much better as a DLC, yeah.
They could have dropped the price.
Like, we play the prequel as a DLC. It's like, it's an awesome value, yeah.
And, that's a long... We talked that. And then the last one is from Wannabe Dev. So, PC Plus game cloud streaming will launch this month. The feature will be getting full launch 23rd. 4K, 1440p, 1080, 720p resolution, supported 1080 or 60 FPS with SDR, HDR. Sony Note streaming will support PS5 capabilities. I guess he just wants us to talk about it. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I need to see the bit rate. That's the problem I have with Xbox right now. Is the bit rate is just a little too low, and I don't know how
the streaming.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you do GeForce Now, you can crank that to 100. That's like pristine. It's ridiculous. And I've played a lot of Xbox streaming games that look great. Starfield in particular looks very good. But when you start getting a lot of movement and you start getting into the 40 or 30 megabits a second, you start getting like shimmering and, you know, there's some stuff there that I don't like. And I really do think Xbox needs to turn theirs up. On the other hand, these guys are talking about 4K streaming at 60 FPS. Dude, one of two ways this is going to work. One, it's super high and they just say screw bandwidth caps. It's super high 4K gaming streaming, which, by the way, is terabytes of data in a month. Terabytes. So I want to see the support, and I also want to see, are there going to be queues? Like GeForce Now has gone away, but it used to have the occasional queue where you get ready to sign in and it'd be like a machine has to become available. Like this, I don't know how much they're supporting it. We're going to have to see if everybody jumps on. Is there going to be queues? What's the performance going to be like? And then last one, you're asked a question. Grape Ape says, Abzy, any interest in an indie throwback game channeling Kingsfield by FromSoft? It's called Lunacid. You heard of this? He put it in the Wednesday thread. Yeah, Lunacid. I've never heard of it.
Is it? I've never played Kingsfield. My first game by them was Tenchu.
Oh, was it Tenchu? Jesus.
Yeah, from software. Yeah, I think Tenchu was my Lunacid. That sounds interesting because I miss those like first person kind of dungeon crawlers and shit. I loved Dark Messiah a lot. Let me see. Is it like $2? It's early access. It's like it's like $5. Oh yeah, it does look a little bit like Kingsfield. It's pretty cool. There is another game I'm very, very excited for, and I put it in the thread, and it's called, let me just bring it up real quick. It's basically what it's doing is, you know how Gloomwood was recreating that thief experience?
Core Decay?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this game is like the original Deus Ex. It has the look of the original Deus Ex, kind of, and it has like very MSim stuff where they show you like going through a thing in different ways, where it's like guns blazing stealth and then persuasion and stuff, or like stacking boxes and jumping over it to get to places and shit. And I love my immersive sims, and it seems that immersive sims in the AAA space are dead, but hopefully, you know, in these indie spaces they can,
unless we believe the rumors about Arcane, man. But the team is split up. Well, we'll have to see, but there's, I mean, something for sure that they're doing. So
plus we got the ex-president of Arcane who split off and made his own company and made
that's what I was going to say is like, yeah, you wonder where the knowledge went. Is some of it still with them? Because I know you guys like it, but I actually had some issues with the Dishonored series, especially level design.
Yeah, I had issues too.
But then, you know, Prey. And so it's like you look at it and you're like, okay, this could be awesome. I think you are right that for the most part, when you look at immersive sims, they just cost too much money to make.
And they're really niche, man. I don't know why they're niche though. Don't you guys, doesn't everybody want immersive
it's
sims?
So like, weird because we all talk about it, but they sell like balls, man.
Why,
they just,
dude?
even
it's
Dishonored,
like
it sold after a while, but it did not like break out, even with millions of sales. It just didn't.
It's the quintessence of emergent gameplay, dude. Why wouldn't anyone want that?
And Prey had amazing DLC. Remember, it had the the like roguelike Moonraker, Moonbeam,
Crash,
Moon Crash. I was close. That'll be it for us. Thank you, everybody. If you get a chance, check out the Discord. It does help my channel, especially when things are demonetized and stuff like that. You can also become a YouTube member. You can follow Abzy on his Twitter. Do you even do Twitter? Now that I think about it, you don't.
Not right now because there's a lot of fucking weird shit on Twitter. But I'll get back to it. I want to post more because I'm trying to do some cool stuff in the next few months.
And you can check me on Twitter if you want, but if you don't want to, that's fine too, because on Twitter, most of the time I am just fucking with people. Like, it's my favorite thing to do. But when it comes to real stuff, you guys will see a review from me for Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man. Boy, did they fuck up the name on that. It should just be called Spider-Man. I think it would have been hilarious if they called it Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
But you got Spider-Man 2 coming, and a couple others, previews. Let's see, what else? Podcast on Friday. And real quick, Xbox Series S. Did you get to see the video I did? If you didn't, it's fine. It's not. I'm not putting you on spot.
Yeah, and I saw the original Alan Wake dev talk about it, and then I saw that you uploaded a video on it, but I still haven't watched
it was interesting because I talked to a couple devs before doing the video, and one of the devs I talked to had worked on a game prior and didn't really have any issues with S, but now as they're moving to the newer engines and there's more like GPU intensive stuff in particular, that's causing a little bit of an issue, and some are going to be fine, no issues. But what is stunning to me, dude, is the Series S has 70%, more than 70% of all users of the Xbox or the S. And that is why I always talk about cost. Because it's like, it is difficult for me to say, go spend 500, 600, when it's like, you know, you can jump in, play a lot of amazing games, like Legion had ray tracing, like all these crazy things on the S. But at the same time, as we move into the future, it's going to be really interesting to see how Microsoft goes with it. I'm personally of the opinion that if they reach this crux, they'll say, just like the Switch, they'll say there's a streaming version if you want to play split screen Baldur's Gate 3. You can play streaming. If you want to play local, the S doesn't have split screen local. And
can they like mix and match?
Well, they can, because the blades on the cloud are X's. That's in fact why Microsoft didn't sell as many. There's like a legitimate track you can see where they bought their own consoles to put inside the cloud. And so they didn't have them available. That's why there was an issue with actual people getting them. But the S is, the S, you can connect to the cloud, you can play. I would assume that's what they're going to do, is just be like the S, the local version is this. I don't know if that's going to happen, but Baldur's Gate already became an issue. Baldur's Gate's a massive game. A lot of devs are having no issues, but it does feel like even with the PS4 original, we saw Sony go away from it. We saw Xbox has gone away from the Xbox original. It just happens. And the Series S is a very cool machine that does, it sort of jumps in and does some things, but it's got this GPU thing that is a little weird. Like, and it was awesome, dude, because I don't know about you, we just talked about this prior to the podcast. What did we say? That when the 50 series comes out, they need to sell us on a new tech. So when Microsoft was making the S, the tech for what they thought we were going to hit is different than where we are. You know, they made a guess with the S, and that is not, for some engines, is not working out. So it's just an interesting discussion because it's so popular.
Yeah, because now we have a new dimension of ways to, it's not just like going up in performance anymore. There's like a whole new thing added into it, where there's new technologies being added in like very fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of them eat up that memory. A lot of them eat up the APU RAM, and suddenly, you know, you're looking, like he said, it's not just cutting. It used to be just cutting resolution. Now now you got to look at other stuff. So that would be my guess. I'm actually, people thought I disliked the S, and I'm like, dude, you're talking to the wrong part. Like, to me, if somebody can get in at a cheaper price for a video card, do it. If you can get an S, do it. But just be aware that the video card may not run RT or frame gen, and the S may not be able, you know, like, I don't know what it is. People want everything in the smallest, cheapest package. And it's like, dude, that's not.
Yeah.
Not
especially when
works.
people were, oh, never mind. We're going to get into a whole thing with the 60 FPS, 30 FPS debacle.
We can talk about it Friday.
Okay. We'll talk about it Friday.
Jake Dill says one thing I want to bring up. He says, the pistol pointing to the left side of the screen, even though it was supposed to shoot at the center, was what turned me off of Prey.
Did it have that?
Did it have the thing where, like, you're holding the...
Like the crosshair isn't in the middle?
Crosshair's in the middle, but your gun doesn't look... I did too. I'll have to check that out. It's a good point. I don't remember that. Anyway, that'll be it for us. Thank you, everybody, for the support. It means a ton, especially as YouTube is a disaster right now with, like, shorts and shit. So it definitely helps out. Peace out, everybody.